For those folks that just joined, we're just getting everyone into the room, and we're gonna work on the Facebook folks as well. So just bear with us for a minute.
Okay, Chair, we are now live on Facebook.
All right. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's like keeping as cool as they can and keeping safe from fire, which we do in Sonoma County. So why don't we call the meeting to order? It is now 5:31 p.m. And Miss Vesta, are you going to do the Pledge of Allegiance for us? You're on mute, Vesta.
Okay, sorry about that, because Lucy needed the link and she just called me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, who's got the flag?
Got it coming up right now.
Actually, Jason, since you're going to do that, can you send Lucy the link again via email?
Sure will.
Okay, thank you. And Nick is out of town, but he's going to try to catch up from Carlsbad, where he's taking care of his parents.
All right, you want to start the pledge, Vesta?
Yeah, I don't see the flag, but that's okay.
It's up.
It's up? Okay, it's someplace around here. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Okay, the first item is the approval of the agenda.
Did you want roll call, Mr.
Oh,
Chair?
I'm sorry, Nance. Yeah, can we do roll call?
Okay, Pip Marquez de la Plata. Here. Vesta Coat Stakes.
Here.
Thank you. Jeanette Dillman.
Here.
Mike Nichols.
Here.
We'll wait a couple minutes for Nick, as you said, he's going to try to join. Do you know if Sarah will be joining instead, or he's still going to try Vesta to join?
Vesta, you're on mute.
Yes, yes, yes. He's going to try to join because he's part of the report. So, but he is in Carlsbad.
Okay. Naomi Hofstetter. Kyra Wink.
Here.
Alice Teeter. Lisa Namanson.
Is here.
Are there any alternates which I may have missed? Okay, roll call is completed.
Thank you, Nancy. So now we move on to approval of the agenda. Everyone, I'm hoping you all have the agenda and have been able to look over it.
Mr. Chair, I received, before anybody else goes, I received several corrections, which I'll submit with the minutes, but they were from Lois Lebovich.
Okay.
And she actually let me know that I spelled Lieutenant Mike Roush's name wrong, so I will correct that.
Okay.
And talking about the resort, I think I actually said that it was Guernwood Park and it's Guernwood, so I will submit those corrections.
Okay. Mike?
Yes, I have a correction. On page 3 of the minutes under board comment, the last paragraph was regarding Tony Goodwin's comments. He called me. He's unable to join. I believe he's en route back to his computer, but he felt that that was the comments there did not fully capture his conversation. He felt that he was adamant about feeling that adamant that a standing committee was necessary, and that would not occur with ad hocs. And then on page 4.
Hey, Mike?
Yes.
We're on agenda approval right now.
I'm sorry. I thought we were on Nance commented on minutes.
That's okay. We're going to get to that in just a sec.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Can I get approval of the agenda?
I so move.
Okay, Mike and Vesta second, or Kyra.
Hi, Vesta.
All right. Okay,
You
this
need
is
a vote? You
yeah,
need a vote, Mr. Chair.
yeah.
Do you need a verbal, Nance?
Uh,
A second. Okay.
Usually, yes, yes, I do. Hang on. Pip,
Yep.
Vesta,
Yes.
Jeanette,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes,
Naomi, Kyra,
Yes.
Alice, Lisa Nominson.
Yes.
Did I miss anybody? I think I have everybody.
Nick is here.
Oh, hi, Nick. Okay,
And Lucy is here as well?
yes.
You get everyone, Nance?
Yes, I did. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. It's now, if anyone has any conflict of interest with anything that's on the agenda, this is the time to speak up. Does anyone have any conflict that they'd like to have recognized? I see no hands, no voices. Okay. I think we're good on that. I'm still not used to Zoom, but anyway, after all these like months and months. So correspondence, we have a letter from Lloyd in the packet. And I think that was it. Is that correct, Nan? I mean, Elise?
That's all I have to.
Okay. Okay, now we can go to the consent calendar, Mike.
I move that we pull the minutes from the consent calendar as I have some additions, changes.
Mike, if those are if those are related to things that Tony Godwin would like to add, I don't know if it's appropriate, but would he like to submit that in writing and I can add it as a correction, or?
Yes, he certainly could do that. As I said, he unfortunately is in between computers right now. He's, I think, up at Wildwood and on his way back.
Does anyone have?
However, on page 4 at the bottom of page, under public comment, mid-page regarding the motion made by Lisa to appoint 3 ad hocs for land use. The motion was seconded by Alice. The motion was approved. It should have been 8-1-0 vote. Tony Goodwin indicated to me that he voted no on that item because he was promoting standing committees.
Correction noted.
Thank you. That's all I had in a report.
All right. Does anyone else have any issues or comments on the minutes so we can get that squared away? Okay, so we'll table the minutes pending the corrections and the stuff coming in that would be written to Nance. And the next on the calendar, and this is actually related to what we were just talking about, is the standing committee for land use. Did everyone have a chance to read that through? I know I got a couple of questions on that. Essentially what we're gonna do, and this is based on a lot of feedback from community members, MAC members, Linda Hopkins. We got together as a group also with the Coastal MAC to try to get a consistent policy or a consistent mechanism for dealing with land use issues across both MACs. Because as you know, staff is also working both with the Coastal MAC and the Little Russian River MAC. So I think we came to a really good solution that solves most problems. One is that we could have a standing meeting, a standing committee that would meet every other month. It would be alternate months for the MACs. So if this is it June now? I don't even know what month
It is.
So our first potential land use standing committee meeting could be in July. And the coastal max would be in alternate months from us. There will be 2 members appointed to the standing committee permanently. And then there will be room for 2 more that can be appointed based on project. The chair and the other person that's on the standing committee, or to me or to Kyra, someone could say, I want to be on, the standing committee for that particular project, and that would be considered to be added for that project. So it works great because we can get very hyper local representation and also have a committee that's doing this throughout the year. Was I clear enough for everyone?
Pippa was oops, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeanette.
Go ahead, that's fine. Oh, wait.
Pippa, was my understanding that when you read the dialogue that we came up with, is that the temporary members of the standing committee would be those that would have a project within their district or in an adjoining district, and that was a consensus of the folks that attended that meeting. So,
Yep, correct.
Okay.
Yep, that's right. So yeah, so if like something's in between Guerneville and Rio Neto, or Guerneville and Cazadero, it could go either way.
That is correct. And also gives, if the project is within the Guerneville district, it allows both of the Guerneville representatives to act as temporary members.
That's correct. Jeanette, you have your hand raised, I see.
Yeah. I do have a question about membership. First of all, I'm very happy that it became a standing committee because I do believe that's where it belongs. And I support that wholeheartedly. But the membership, in looking at it, I understand what you're saying, Pip. But if you have 2 permanent members, you may not choose any more members at times, I would assume. So if you have 2 members, how are you going to make a decision that's going to be, usually you have an odd number.
Right. So
you can make a decision, and how it's set up now is it's impossible to make a definitive decision. So my request and suggestion is that you have a 3-1, that you have 3 permanent members who will be able to truly function as they should, and then 1 for a special interest, or however you want to define it. But that's my suggestion, to make it a more solid decision-making group.
okay. Council have any other comments? Lisa?
Yeah, I like the hybrid solution that y'all came up with. It seemed like a great compromise to make it the standing committee, and then to add that hyper local element. So I really appreciated all the time that whoever spent on figuring that out came up with. It seems like a win-win to me.
Okay.
I think we need to maybe explore what Jeanette is suggesting, making a modification from 2 on the standing committee year-round to modifying that to 3, and then having one local representative come to the committee for projects within their district. And if it's a district such as Forestville or Guerneville that has 2 representatives, it's up to the representatives to figure out who they might want to have represent them or their district. And that's
Yeah.
just my suggestion.
Yeah, and well, in that scenario, Mike, like there's two Guerneville people, so it would still, oh, well, if they're not on the standing, I get it. Yeah. Okay.
I like that idea, the exploration of that idea too. That sounds sound.
Good deal. All right. So
I
that-
I agree with Jeanette that you need to have an odd number to have a decision
Right.
made. So I think that's a great comment and suggestion.
Right. Jeanette, I do also agree with that.
Thank you.
My brain caught up to the speaking points. So thank you for that.
So I have a question. I don't know if we can do this or not, but can we, so we can get this committee appointed? It sounds pretty much like everyone is in agreement to that. Can we make that change here and say that's in addition to the standing committee? Yeah, and then just get it done.
You modify the motion to
Yeah.
cover the aspect.
Right. So can I get a motion to approve the standing committee as written, plus the addition of what Jeanette talked about adding a third?
I'll move.
And I second.
Okay, great. And so the next part is, oh, go ahead, Nance.
Public comment.
You're on mute, Nance. I can't hear you.
You want to vote? Here we go.
Yeah.
Wait,
let's-
Public comment, folks.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That'd be great.
So we'll take public comment now, and I've been told to point out that if you want to make a question and answer or a comment, you can also use the Q&A button as a place to do that as well. But do we have anyone that has a hand raised or has a comment? And I can't really see them where I'm looking right now.
Or
I have a
public comment, correct, Chair?
That's correct.
Okay, we have 3 hands raised. Everyone in the attendees, we have 4 hands raised now. Please note that you'll be on a 2-minute timer. The timer will appear when 30 seconds are left during your comment period. The first person we have is Lloyd Guccione. Lloyd, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. I believe you're going about this in the wrong way. Very wrong. It's great to have a standing committee. However, the obvious choice should be, it should be a standing committee of the whole. All of you should be members of that standing committee that is going to deal with land use issues every other month. Not just a select group of 2 or 3 or a majority and special considerations as to whether an issue is or is not related to Guerneville or Rio Negro or a segment. Because you are representatives of the Lower River Municipal Advisory Council, you understand well enough that things that happen in Guerneville can have an impact in Forestville. And things that happen in Forestville can have an effect down the river through the other communities. That's why a committee of the whole is the essential thing. The process of that you have been talking about, in which you decided to do this and that you've been talking about, I don't get it. I don't see any documentation in your packet that details what decisions you met, when you met, who was there, etc. It doesn't seem quite right or in order. What about public access to that decision-making that is now so important, where you're going to decide land use policy? And in the packet, I, perhaps by mistake, never saw or do not see a copy of the policy as you have drafted it, etc. What is going on? This is not the way to do it. Anyway, I suggest a committee of the whole. Thank you.
Thanks, Lloyd. Elise,
I think to answer that question, you may want to know a few more details, which is in the policy that's in the packet. The first thing is that the standing committee is not making land use decisions. What the standing use committee does is they decide, they go through all of the applications that are coming up, all the events that are coming up. We get a lot of applications. So Lloyd, you really don't want us to be having meetings over whether or not someone is building a shed in their backyard. So the point of the standing committee is to sort through that and decide what goes to the full MAC. So the full MAC will always be presenting the project and will always have the opportunity to vote, assuming that that any project rises to the level of what is worthy. The standing committee, the benefit of the standing committee is that it is a Brown Act committee and therefore it is a public committee. It will be open to the public, and so all decisions and all the information will be open. So I think I heard your two biggest concerns were that how would we know about the decisions being made by the committee? And it is a public standing committee meeting, so you will be able to see the decision making as it happens. And then the second piece is that any presentations of value to the public will be brought before the full MAC.
yeah, and if I can just add one more benefit that I can see to this too, is that because we are representing the Lower Russian River, and we have representatives that span that entire region, we're lucky enough, and the people on this committee, I believe, are tuned in enough to their very local issue that they will know if there is an issue in their community and can bring it up to both the standing committee and the entire MAC. So we're going to get some good input that way as well. Okay, why don't we go to the next?
We have Vera Foss. She has her hand raised.
Hi, Vera.
Vera?
Guys, hello. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Vera.
We're doing public comment on the question of the standing committee.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just jumping on from Fife Creek, and I have Carrie and Sally Sorensen here with me. So maybe it's not an appropriate time to put a comment in.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Who do we have next, Jason?
No further hands are raised. I will check Facebook, and no questions on Facebook.
Okay, then I'll bring it back to the board. Jeanette?
I do want to bring up a point that we do have 3 ad hoc committees, and are we going to tend to that also, to dissolve them, the committees that you set up last time?
That's a good question, and I was going to ask that.
I realize, okay, I realize it's a little out of order, but I thought it was a point that needs to be made. Thank you.
I mean, whether we do or we don't, why don't we just do it anyway? And then we'll be covered on that.
Right.
So and maybe we can cover it in the same motion to create this standing committee with the suggestion Jeanette made that have three permanent members and dissolve the previous ad hocs.
And dissolve them. Okay.
Yep.
That restated motion works for me.
So Mike, are you moving?
Yes, I am.
All right. So do we have a second?
Nick made a second there.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, let's do a vote. And sorry, I'm looking back and forth. I'm looking at 2 screens, so I'm not looking away from y'all.
Okay, ready? Pip,
Yep. Yes.
Vesta,
Yes.
Jeanette,
Yes.
Mike Nichols,
Yes.
Nick, Naomi Hofstadter,
Yes.
Kyra Wink,
Yes.
and Lisa Nobinson.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so just so we can tie this subject up with a bow, can we do the appointees of the committee members?
I don't believe that's on the agenda, is it?
Yeah, I don't think it's on the agenda.
Oh,
I don't see it anyway.
It's actually,
We have appointment of standing committee members on the, under regular calendar.
right, under regular calendar B1.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay.
well,
Where's B1?
I don't have
It's the-
B1.
Oh, I see,
no.
I see where it is. Okay, we can do it there, that's fine.
Yeah, under F, regular calendar items. B1.
Okay, okay, so we'll tie the bow in a minute. So so Nancy, you good on the vote on that?
Yeah, yes, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Okay, then let's go to if there are any public comments on matters not listed on the agenda.
I have one.
We're at public comment right now, Naomi?
Can I speak as a constituent rather than a MAC person?
Nope.
No.
No.
You're not a real human being.
Okay.
Sorry.
I missed-
Naomi, there is a spot for council comments later in the
Yeah.
agenda.
Oh,
That's
thank
where
you,
you make
Elise.
your
Gotcha.
comments.
Yeah.
Okay, we have two hands raised for public comment. Ms. Bergman.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. My name is Maeve Bergman, and our family has been on Neely Road for over 25 years. On behalf of my family, I'd like to deeply encourage everyone to read the Silver Estates logging plan currently filed with CAL FIRE. The first logging plan submitted for Silver Estates was returned by CAL FIRE for insufficiency. Very sadly, the resubmitted plan still appears to not fully consider the safety of our community, especially those of us living on Neely Road. We have not been surprised that the decision on the latest version has now been delayed 9 times by the CAL FIRE foresters. Currently, the logging plan for Silver Estates between Neely Road and Mays Canyon Road proposes to log fire-resistant species, primarily redwoods, to leave behind the more flammable tan oak and bay, as well as piles of logging debris. Log on Neely Hill, including steep hillsides with a greater than 65% grade, landslide-prone hillsides, and during the wet seasons, and excludes the needed repair of a failed culvert running beneath the logging lands and Neely Road. Many neighbors along Neely, including my 83-year-old parents, don't oppose logging, but we also don't want to have our sole year-round road upon which we, our first responders, and the sanitary district rely collapse into the river again. We don't want to face increased risk of landslides and falling trees likely to harm our neighbors and our property without indemnification of the logging company, nor face increased fire risk while we're working to harden our own properties against fire. The current logging plan does not adequately consider current fire and landslide risks we face in Guerneville, particularly on Neely Road. Any logging plan needs to ensure logging in Guerneville doesn't threaten our families and homes with increased risk of sliding hills, falling trees, collapsing roads, and increased fire. Thank you.
Thank you, Maeve. And then
Next we have a public comment from Lloyd Guccione. Lloyd?
Yes, I'm here. Hello. I'm also on the telephone because this is the strangest Zoom meeting. I attend the Sweetwater Springs Zoom meetings, and they're quite a bit different and more inclusive than this. The participants, members of the public are shown, et cetera, et cetera. Public comment is not limited to 2 minutes. They don't have to block the screen for 30 seconds for a clock. I have talked to Elise about the difference between 2 minutes and 3 minutes. If you want to make this inclusive, going 3 minutes public comment is not going to burden you that much more, really. In regards to the comment of the person who spoke before me, certainly the Silver Creek, the Silver property is very important because it is part of the irrigation component for the wastewater treatment plant, etc. I do think it is important what she's brought to your attention. And I can also say, Elise, in regards to any misunderstanding about land use policy, the approval of land use policy as stated on your agenda, I don't know what you approved. I haven't seen it in writing. I think you're something that's not quite right, and I think you would be best served by going back. You're trying to set up mechanisms prematurely without fully understanding the effect that your rush is going to have. Thank you very much. And the damn clock is really a big annoyance. You couldn't make it smaller, huh? Right.
Thanks, Lloyd. We're working on the clock. There's some technical issues, but we are working on it. Any other public comment?
Yes, we have two right now. We next is Rick Coates.
Hi, Rick.
Rick, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Rick Coates. I'm the Executive Director of Forest Unlimited. We've been closely watching the Silver Estate Logging Plan, and I have to say that what Ms. Bergman said is quite right. The forester has had to revise the plan many times. There's still many misstatements in the plan, the worst of which is that it will somehow decrease fire danger. The exact opposite is true, just as Maeve mentioned. Taking the redwoods, but leaving the fire-prone species on the slash is a severe increase in fire danger. Also, there's a real question about the stability of the slopes because of the irrigation on that land added to severe rainfall in the wintertime. And we may yet have severe rainfall because climate change causes swings in the climate from drought to flood. So I think it's a serious consideration, and I hope this body will take it up as well and try to see what they can do to ameliorate the problems in this logging plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got next up, we have Vera.
Hi, Vera. Is this it's the right time?
Yes, it is the right time. The Silver Estates timber harvest. So we're going to have Forest Unlimited, Rick Coates, who was just speaking. And thank you, Lloyd, and thank you, Ms. Berkman. At our celebration, Fife Creek, Guerneville, June 27th. And I encourage all the board members to be there and experience what Friends of Fife Creek is doing to beautify Guerneville and also bring attention to the Silver Estate timber harvest. And we're doing it from a positive side. We are trying to educate people how the trees talk to each other. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Butterflies for the kids, you know, to draw and stuff, and goats, baby goats, and tour through our garden that's just barely started, and our 10-year project across from Safeway, noon to 5 on Sunday, June 27th. Please come, you guys. This is like so important. And thank you everyone for commenting about Silver Estates and bringing that up. Now we got to talk about fires. Okay. Thank you. Bye, you guys.
Bye. Thanks, Vera. All right, any other comments from the public on items not on the agenda? I don't see any hands raised, but I could be missing someone and I don't want to miss anyone.
We don't have any on Facebook and we don't have any in Zoom.
All right, great. Thanks, Jason. Okay, so let's move on to our next topic item, and that is Ms. Linda Hopkins. She has a few comments to make.
Thank you so much. So I wanted to provide a few updates on different things going on at the county. Number one is, you probably all have heard, the state is in the process of reopening. We had widespread reopening on Tuesday, and then just today the announcement came out that the governor and OSHA now have lined up surrounding not requiring employees who have been vaccinated to wear masks. And so we just want to let you know that all of the state guidelines do apply within Sonoma County. We are in total alignment with the state, so there's no further restrictions from Sonoma County. Additionally, we've spent all week this week in Board of Supervisors budget hearings, and I wanted to share a little bit of the outcome. We took our straw vote a couple days ago, and it will, or just yesterday, and then tomorrow we'll actually be coming in to formalize that. And so a few of the things that I think are particularly relevant to West County, we have $350,000 approved for a septic study. This is really aimed at expanding our capacity around coming into compliance with the TMDL. And the whole goal is to sort of take the work that we've done with Alicia and with the working group that we've got going on with the Citizens Advisory Committee, and then expanding that really to look at a countywide perspective of where could we potentially extend sewer systems, where we want to look at community septics, all with the goal of assisting homeowners in complying with the regional water board's order. I'm sorry, TMDL is total maximum daily load, and is the regulations that we are under in order to come into compliance in the Russian River for bacterial counts and sedimentation. So in addition to that, we also did get approved. So that was one of my specific budget requests. Another specific budget request was with respect to Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center funding, because that was actually set to expire this year. We were able to re-up that. And we also are thinking about looking at the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan Act funds, which the board will be deliberating on in fall, as another potential extension. But in the meanwhile, we do have 1 year of Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Centers funding. And then again, looking at the ARPA funds to extend that even further. We also approved $1.5 million a year and $2 million of one-time fund to support fire consolidation and sustainable fire services going forward. We also set aside $2.5 million of eucalyptus mitigation vegetation management. This is specifically looking at eucalyptus trees, which are non-native and just go up like absolute matchsticks in a fire. It could very easily spread fire because they have an ember cast that goes very high into the air. And because of the height of the trees, they actually do create their own little miniature weather patterns that enables them to very easily cross freeways in terms of fire and spread. And so I often think about, you know, on River Road, right, that line which really connects East County to West County, and that those could all go up. And so this will enable us to really meaningfully look at, can we take eucalyptus trees within the right of way of county roads? Can we also maybe create incentives for landowners and homeowners to actually take out eucalyptus trees on their property as well? Because it doesn't just endanger their house, it really endangers the entire neighborhood and community. I also wanted to highlight, this actually happened a couple of weeks ago, but we did approve a really huge, unprecedented historic investment in roads. And we were able to do that because not only do we continue to invest general fund dollars in roads, we also put a huge chunk of the PG&E settlement funds into roads. And so that's amounting to $23 million of projects for West County. And that includes not only road repavement, but also replacement and repair of crumbling retaining walls. And so the idea is that normally in West County, it feels like we wait for things to break until we fix them. And then like Cazadero Highway, you have, you know, challenges with years of lack of service and, you know, reduced evacuation routes for the community. So we're actually trying to get ahead of the curve and replace these really ancient retaining walls before they break. Speaking of Caz Highway, we're finally moving forward on Caz Highway. So not only are we going to be repairing those slip outs, but also completing the pavement project. So I do want to highlight that we are trying to go not only for the normal connectors on the roads repavement, but we're also starting to target individual communities. And so for instance, we are actually going to be paving all of downtown Guerneville on the county-owned side. So not, you know, the state-owned highway. And so just because your community hasn't gotten that treatment yet, doesn't mean that it won't. We just have to start somewhere. And we kind of were looking at the, PCI, the pavement condition index, as well as sort of the amount of travel and usage that the areas get. And so we're finally starting to get a little bit into the residential areas or the major arterial connectors on our roads network. We also do have some of the quarry mitigation funding, the ongoing sort of aggregate assessment going into some of the roads around Forestville that are used by the gravel trucks. So, another important thing is we're also looking at emergency vehicle access roads. So this is actually a pretty unusual thing in Sonoma County. We have gotten requests for years to reopen old roads, and the county response has always been no. We're starting to change that tune because we recognize that some of these old county rights of way, even if we can't fully pave them and open them up for everyday use, they're critical evacuation routes for our community and critical sort of access points for emergency vehicles. So we are moving forward with Willow Creek as an emergency vehicle access, and we're also looking at Old Cas as another, one that we're hoping to move forward on. So we're trying to really expand our capacity to evacuate and to get fire trucks in and out of some of our one-way and one-way out communities in West County. I believe that those are all of my major updates. I don't know, Elise, you can correct me if I'm missing anything, but I think that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Linda, it's Nance. Just a point of clarification. Did you say Willow Creek?
Yes.
It was Old Cas and Willow Creek? Okay, thank you.
Do you want to just briefly talk about the fire mitigation funds that were just given out as well?
Thank you so much. That was a great reminder. So when I'll just be very candid, I was a really huge proponent of getting out some funding ASAP for vegetation management, just knowing the, huge fire risks that we have in West County, particularly in such a dry and potentially severe wildfire season as we are really in already. And so the board allocated up to $4 million of ASAP funds to go out for vegetation management. And when the initial list was brought back, a number of West County projects, actually most of the projects that had the highest density of population around them, so places like Rio Nito, Kernwood, and the Bohemian Corridor, they were all initially rejected because they weren't in compliance with California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. And so rather than saying, let's just reject these, I fought really, really hard for conditional approval for projects that we know are really critical projects, but didn't quite yet meet the regulatory requirements in order to move forward. And so essentially a number of projects in the lower Russian River, as well as the Bohemian Corridor, were conditionally approved. And so essentially what we will be doing is we'll be going to be providing technical assistance to get that compliance with CEQA all lined up so that those projects can go forward. So unfortunately, they're unlikely to sort of make it in this year in terms of, actually getting the vegetation management done. But the good news is that with bringing this technical expertise on board, I think we're going to actually create even better projects. Because for some of them, I was talking to Fire Chief Ben Nichols, and he would say, I love the community energy. We really need to do something in this area, but this project wasn't quite right. Like from a wildfire fighting perspective, we would actually want to put the shaded fuel breaks over here. And so, I think this will enable us to incorporate CAL FIRE's feedback and also potentially to link up projects. There were a couple of projects in the Bohemian Corridor in particular that were sort of a little bit overlapping. And so the idea of then creating a larger project that will work together to function to protect our communities. So I'm really excited that we're going to be moving forward with those. There were also some North Coast projects that were approved because they did meet the CEQA guidelines. And we did also get approval because it's being conducted within the county right of way through a CEQA exemption for a project up on Sweetwater Springs Road, which will provide some protection to Rio Nito and Guerneville in terms of a potential fire break. So we've got that one approved and the others are conditionally approved. Oh, and I also wanted to mention forgot on the budget hearings, we also did allocate $2 million of one-time funding to address homelessness, which we know continues to be a challenge. And this is in particular really designed to get some kind of a brick and mortar or just tent poles and tents type of a solution to provide additional shelter capacity so that we can move forward with addressing encampments. If we don't have that shelter capacity, or whether it's a pop-up village or a sort of tent encampment that's more structured and formalized, if we don't have that capacity, we cannot go through with clearing encampments because legally we cannot, based on a series of federal judicial decisions that have occurred. So back to you, Chair de la Plata, Marquez de la Plata.
That's all right. It happens all the time. All right. Does the council have any questions or comments? We'll start there. And I saw some hands raised.
I believe Cairo was first, and then Vesta, Mike, and Lucy.
Okay.
Yes, hi. Linda, I had a quick question for you. I know there's a lot going on with budgets. The parking, residential parking ad hoc committee wasn't successful to move forward with an ordinance due to only 2 out of several of the communities having high interest in it. But I heard a rumor there might be some possibilities of some budgeting for parking enforcement officers. So that's my question.
That's a great question. So we actually, what we did with this budget was not to have a specific budget request because we didn't actually know how much money it would cost, nor even where it would be housed specifically. So what we did was we submitted a budget information request form. And so that enables staff to go back and look at what it would cost and where it would live within county government to develop that kind of a program. And we had conversations about potentially it's a contract with CHP. So it's pass-through dollars. So that could be implemented pretty quickly. And I do think that parking enforcement is going to be really, really critical, especially with the temperatures that we're seeing and, the pressure from inland to come out to the river and coast. So nothing committed, but the other thing that we did actually during the budget hearings is we increased our contingencies. Normally there's $5 million a year of contingencies that can, help departments out who have cost overruns, or if there's a request from the board or from the community that comes up between, budget years, it enables us to respond to that. And so we actually are likely to have closer to $10 million in contingencies because we sort of created a cascade of any year-end fund balance would go back into contingencies as opposed to into reserves or something like that. So there's definitely an opportunity if we find out exactly what we need and what the scope of services and the cost is to move forward with something like that.
Great. I know, Mike, you had your hand up. I see your hand in the screen. I'm going to go Brady Bunch order around the little Zoom.
Very good. Thank you very much, Pip. With both former Supervisor Carrillo and Supervisor Hopkins here, I want to thank both of you on the broadband effort. First of all, Supervisor Carrillo recognized the need back in 2011 when he assigned me to the project, and he had the foresight to get the ball rolling, and I really appreciate that. And then Supervisor Hopkins was the lead on helping us to receive $315,000 worth of funding to study future needs for broadband and the future direction in which we can move as a county. So kudos to both of you for your foresight and for your just awesome help on this project over the years. I truly want to thank both of you. Thank you.
If I might just say 10 seconds of thank you, because you are the person who has been consistent in this effort. And I am guessing that Efren would say the same thing. I mean, you have been an unbelievable champion and have done so much more than, many, quite frankly, elected officials who don't even really know what broadband is, right? And you educate people, you advocate, you've been fantastic. So thank you, Mike.
I'm just part of one of a team. So we've got others that are every bit as qualified for sure. Thank you.
I think the other ones are paid though. So, the volunteerism does count.
Right.
All right, Lucy.
Thanks. Sorry. Also, mine is just a comment that on behalf of my neighborhood emergency preparedness group, and wanted to acknowledge Linda and the vegetation management funding, because even though we applied as a small group, and we knew it was a long shot and we didn't get the funding. It's like what it did, the process of applying and bringing together our neighborhood and the energy and the focus and the buy-in and the empowerment about you're looking for somebody out there to help us with these collective areas that are problematic. And it's like, we're not done. Maybe we didn't get that grant, but you started the ball rolling. And I think I'm just one of many who would say that putting this energy out there is going to create some solutions and some good stuff. So thank you for that. Even though we didn't get it, we're not done.
Well, and thank you so much for applying. And the good news is there's going to be more money available next year. So you can definitely give it another shot. Thank you, Lucy.
All right, Vesta, you still got your hand up.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you about Moscow Road. I didn't hear you say anything, an update on that Moscow Road, the whole, it's doesn't, you can't get through there. So I'm wondering if that is on the top priority list because it is the only way in and out for a number of people.
That's a great question. And so we have actually worked with Transportation and Public Works, and I know Elise has done a lot of coordination directly with Johannes to ensure that there is an emergency evacuation route and a way to make that possible during, for again, just one way during emergencies. So that is part of the plan. And of course, we're doing everything we can to expedite the whole kind of, FEMA and government. I mean, it's so you've got, sort of the federally declared disaster issues, and then you also have sort of the state regulations, which most of our projects are within environmentally sensitive habitat areas or, adjacent to a coho bearing stream. And so that really complicates the permitting processes. So it's kind of a combination of the funding challenge. It's just like so much bureaucratic red tape, but we do have a backup plan for how to get folks out of that.
So what you're saying is that it's not in line to be repaired yet. You have a plan for emergency exit?
Oh, no, it's totally in line to be repaired. It's just that I know that even being in line, the line sometimes moves much more slowly than we want it to. Reference Cazadero Highway, right? So, sometimes these projects, if they're especially, geologically challenging in terms of engineering, can unfortunately take years to complete. And so, but in the meantime, we wanted to make sure that we had an emergency plan in action, which we do.
Okay, so that's where it's at. It's held up, and there's because I went out with Clean River Alliance on a camp cleanup. There's a lot of people parked out there right now because it's the end of the road and nobody's there. So they've got their campers, and thank goodness for the clean team, Russian River Keeper, to keeping those camps clean because they are a part of the trash collection service. But that has increased a problem out there at that end of the road where the barriers are.
Can I ask when you were out there? Because we have been pushing pretty aggressively on the Community Development Commission, and there was an enforcement, action that was being taken to clear out the encampment. So I just wanted to check on if it's something that's been repopulated or if that action had gotten delayed or what. Because we've extended, extended services.
About 2 to 3 weeks ago, I went out with Carol Shoemate.
I think that was at the front of Moscow Road, Linda.
It's
all
right
the campers.
where the barriers are.
Right. No, that's the encampment that we've been monitoring and that we've been sending service providers out. But I believe that since then there was an enforcement action scheduled. At least, do you have an update on that? I haven't driven out to confirm, and that's why I never commit to saying something happened until I've seen it with my own eyes. At least, do you have?
Yeah, it's in
update?
progress. It's in progress right now. So.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, I don't see any other hands up with council members. So let's, if there's any public comments or questions.
Have Rick Coates.
All right, Rick.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yes, I would like to personally thank Linda for her work to get the Cazadero Highway opened and working again, as well as Old Cazadero Road. As a resident out there who uses that often, I really appreciate how important it is and how hard she's had to work to get that one going. It's been difficult, and she's led the charge. So thank you, Linda.
All right, thanks, Rick. Do we have any other public comments or questions?
We have one on Facebook and from Ian Eddy. And he's asking, can you give us some kind of idea where we stand on the water situation as we watch Healdsburg go dry?
That is a really great question. And we did have a drought town hall. So if you want to hear directly from the water agency and from the water board, you can check that out on our Facebook page. But, in short, it's really, really grim. I mean, we are likely in what is the drought of record. A local rain gauge actually had sort of last water year and this water year as the second and first respectively driest years on record since 1897. And so we are looking at pretty catastrophically low levels in our reservoir. I mean, they're the lowest they've ever been, and it's obviously only going to go downhill from here in terms of having a very hot and very dry summer. I continue to ask the state water board and also the Sonoma County Water Agency regarding, are they hearing anything about mandatory restrictions below the confluence with Dry Creek? And while there's some sense that may happen at some point, there is no current plan or very near-term plan for that to be affected. But I have asked that as soon as anyone even hears so much as a whiff of that happening from the state, that they let me know so that we can start talking about what those mandatory wood cutbacks would look like with Sweetwater Springs and other providers in the lower Russian River. But right now, the main focus is above the confluence with Dry Creek, because all of that is based on Lake Mendocino. And Lake Mendocino, as Sonoma County Water Agency is saying, is a this year problem. Lake Sonoma is a next year problem. Like if we don't get any water, next year, we're going to see this year, then we're going to really see huge challenges with Lake Sonoma being at a very, very low capacity. But right now, Lake Mendocino, you've seen the photos, it looks like a desert.
Additionally, Ian, I posted the YouTube to our drought town hall as a response to your post on Facebook. Next, we have Vera Faust. She has her hand raised.
Hello again, and thank you all for addressing all kinds of things. You know, the Mermaid's concerned with the drought. We're going to have some Sonoma County Water Agency information at our celebration on the 27th. Carol Shoemate asked me to say something for her. She's busy dealing with the fires of the encampments. There was 4 acres in Cloverdale on First Street Bridge just recently, and then there was an acre in Monterey on the S curve after Northwood coming towards Monterey. So they actually had to blaze a trail to get to that fire. It was super scary. And I have Carrie and Sally here, and maybe Carrie wants to say just one word about what he's dealing with. I can't believe I actually have him on for the MAC meeting. Carrie.
Hi, Carrie.
Hello. Having 2 fires on the same side of the same hill in 9 days, to us here is more than just frightening. We feel that the issue of the homeless just trying to live out here are going to burn us out. We need to get them out of the bushes. We need to get them onto city streets where it's not going to burn. Now, not next month. Now, it's something you need to get on as soon as you possibly can, before we all lose our homes. They gotta live, but they don't have to live in the trees and the bushes.
Thank you, board members. We really appreciate you. Linda Hopkins, you're doing a great job. Thank you so much, Linda. I know you're pulling for us, girl.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vera. And if I could just provide a quick update, which is that I totally agree with everything that you said, Carrie. And I mean, I think it's terrifying. And that's something that really, truly keeps me up at night, knowing how tinder dry our fuels are right now. Even in the redwoods, where normally, right, every summer it normally rains in the redwoods because they capture the fog and then it, sprinkles down from the leaves. And it's just not like that this year. And so this is exactly why I'm pushing CDC to really enforce the Moscow Road encampments and to really make sure that we have a place for folks to go that is not out in the bushes. So I promise that I will keep pushing. I actually brought up the fires at the Board of Supervisors hearing when we were talking about allocating $2 million for homelessness. And then immediately after that, the board hearing, I actually got an email that was an update from District 4 that shared that they had actually just had a homeless encampment started fire as well. And that actually had created an environmental hazard because they had to use some kind of foam that, was not good for the watershed or something to that effect. So it was a whatever the poisonous, proposition of cancer, what I'm talking about. Is it Prop 64, the one that's the warning for all the dangerous things? It was one of those things saying there had been a release, right, in the community. You can tell it's been a long day and it's like 95 degrees in my house right now. So anyway, so it's a very serious issue though. And I really promise that I will keep working on it. And I agree that it's a critical fire safety issue.
All right. I do not see any more hands raised. Jason, am I missing somebody?
Nope, we have no further comments.
Okay, great. Thank you, Linda, so much. Okay, now we're gonna tie that bow on land use. And that is to appoint the committee members to the standing committee. So both Kyra has agreed to chair the Standing Committee for Land Use. Thank you so much for raising your hand on that. And Nick has agreed to serve on the committee as well. But given that we just said we should have 3, is there any other council member that would like to, is that your hand raised, Mike?
Yep.
So that's number 3. So I'd like to appoint Kira as chair and Nick and Mike as the 2 other committee members to the Standing Committee for Land Use. Nance, you're on mute.
I have it. We don't need a motion on that, I don't think. You've just appointed the members, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. All right, great. I like that the little bow is tied. Okay. Next, Efren and Kirk, thank you for hanging in there with us, but you're up. Kirk Lock and Efren Correa are here to give us an overview of what's going on with the new resort that's planned for Guerneville. And we'll have time for council member questions and the public asking questions as well. But right now, Efren and Kirk, you want to go?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Marquez de la Plata, council member, Supervisor Hopkins. Good evening. I'm Efren Carrillo, project consultant. And just by way of introduction, I really thank you for the opportunity to present before your council and the community members here tonight as well. We know it's been years in the making to come before this council and the community members and before the county. I first learned about this project from late Supervisor Mike Riley back in 2008. The project was actually scheduled for hearing in 2016 for use permit and design review, but nonetheless, here we are. I would like to introduce some members of the project team that are with us this evening. As was mentioned by the chair, Kirk Lock has been a property owner for 22 years. He's a local hotel owner and operator in Sebastopol and Petaluma. Jean Kapolchak, owner of Kapolchak and Associates, is a land use consultant, and she'll be doing the main part of the presentation for your council and for the public. Doug Demers of B&H Architects, the project architect, is also with us tonight and will be presenting part of the presentation. Not presenting, but attending and ready to respond to any questions that may be directed to him is Penn Collins of Noble House Hotels and Resorts, who will eventually acquire the project upon approval, develop, own, and operate the resort. So with that, Mr. Chair, I would like to hand the presentation to Jean Kapolchak, who has a PowerPoint prepared. Jean, if you can share that PowerPoint presentation, please go ahead and do it now. If you need me to do it, I'm prepared to do that as well. And if you go to full view, Jean, on the slideshow, if you play from start, you'll be able to have the full presentation on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hopkins and members of the Lower Russian River Municipal Advisory Committee. I'm Jean Kapolchak. I'm the land use consultant on the project. We are thrilled to present this project with you tonight, and hopefully we're on our way for the public hearing before the Board of Zoning Adjustments in soon. As far as a context map, I'm sure you all are aware of where the project is, but here it is in relationship to Gernwood Park in downtown Guerneville. The project site sits about 3/4 of a mile from downtown on Highway 116. In terms of the project details, just stepping through the elements, the project site itself is 9.7 acres. We're essentially developing about 3 acres within that larger parcel. The project is a 120-room resort. There's a main building that will house 100 of the rooms, a lobby with a lobby lounge, meeting space, public restaurant and lounge, gym, and spa. There's then a smaller suites development called tree houses, and that would house the additional 20 units. As you're aware, on purchase of this property, it came with a public trail access easement to the river. That access easement is going to be moved from actually near the Dubrava condominiums to the more to the Hobart Creek side of the property, but the trail remains. And with that trail is 25 public parking spaces as well as a restroom. In total, there will be 201 parking spaces provided for the project. Here's the just a conceptual site plan showing the main layout of the project to orient you to Dubrava Village in the upper right-hand corner. The entry is off of Highway 116. It'll be gated, and then you go into the center of the project. The architect will give you more details relative to the design and layout of the plan. But again, we tried to nestle the project within the trees and also have an environmental component where we remove a lot of the non-native invasive and restore that with a native riparian vegetation plan that will actually be maintained in perpetuity. With that, I'd like to turn presentation over to Kurt Locke, who will speak about the project benefits.
Thank you, Supervisor and members of the MAC. Efren spoke to the fact that we've been working on this since 22 years ago. And I've taken a great deal of pride in being able to bring this forward, because 22 years ago was about the time when I opened it was a Holiday Inn. Today it's called the Marriott Fairfield in Sebastopol. And when we opened it, Supervisor Riley encouraged me to take a look at this site and say, could you do the same thing that you did in Sebastopol, for the Russian River? And when we opened it 22 years ago, back in 1998, Sebastopol was a pretty quiet, small town. Today it remains this quite nice, quiet, small town, but it's a vibrant community. It's now known as the food mecca for many guests, from all over the country, wanting to come to the West County, wanting to enjoy West County and leave their dollars here. And this distinction that I would like to impress upon people is that an overnight guest drops 4 times the dollars that a day tripper does right now. A day tripper has considerable amount of negative impacts, primarily traffic and garbage, and leaves very few dollars. Whereas a hotel guest will eat probably 3 meals a night. They'll drop dollars with local retail. And when we look at what has happened over the 22 years in Sebastopol and Petaluma, we see vibrant small businesses in our communities because those businesses are being supported on a 7-day-a-week business, by people that are staying overnight in lodging. And so that's the significant impact of what a hotel project of this nature can have on a community and its vitality. And that was part of Mike's vision. And I'm happy to bring this forward today, 20 years after the fact of our initial discussion, because I have a great team who is willing to invest into your community and do something that will provide you with the resources to be able to make the kind of decisions that you're discussing today. Because I anticipate just in TOT alone, this project, once it reaches stabilization, is going to contribute another $1 million in TOT that provides our supervisor with the ability to be able to leverage her negotiating position with the other 4 supervisors. Because there's always been a challenge for West County supervisors. How do I negotiate on behalf of District 5 against the 101 core supervisors where a lot of the county taxes are generated. So providing our supervisors with that kind of leverage allows us to then, as citizens, enjoy the benefits of being able to live in West County and enjoy the benefits that others in the west of Sonoma County enjoy. So I look at this project as one in which we can create greater economic vitality for the community and provide additional tax resources for our supervisors. So that's what I would say. Thank you.
Slide that illustrates some of the comments that Kurt has made. And with this, I'd like to turn it over to Doug Demers to address the architectural aspects of the project.
Thanks, Jean. And thank you, Supervisor and members of the MAC, for letting us walk you through this tonight. I think some of you have seen this before, but I'll be brief and try to just give you a general, the general character of what we're trying to accomplish here. We started with, of course, recognizing the historic use that happened on the site as this image represents. It had long ago been a destination hotel, and certainly our goal is to recreate that aspect of it where it becomes a true destination and a real asset to the community. Some of you know, if you go to the next slide, some of you know that my family has been affiliated or engaged in the Russian River since the 1930s, when my wife's grandparents first built their cabin down there. And so I really have, over many decades now, appreciated the value of being in the trees and what that does for people. And when we looked at this site and the original plans that were done, we wanted to be sure that we were following the footprint that had been built around minimizing the impact to any of the trees, especially, and certainly protecting the old growth trees, and then creating a sense of the energy that happens when you're in those trees and the light filters down. So the buildings wanted to be carefully placed and then carefully constructed and designed to be sensitive to the environment, to be less impactful, and really sort of, what I want to say, embrace the trees and celebrate the river. And that's what we've tried to do here. You see in this plan, when you come down into the property, there is a circle of older growth trees that are preserved and really create the focus of that we've wrapped the buildings around. The buildings have been simplified to be cleaner and really, again, just creating a backdrop for nature. And so that's kind of, if you're looking at this plan, you see you come in through the main road. There's parking off to both sides. The public access parking is over on the bottom of your screen. And then there's service vehicles, working with Dubrovna on the emergency vehicle access. The buildings then follow around sort of in a knuckle around the trees, and ultimately resolve themselves on the bottom where the treehouse suites are that look over the creek. Anybody have any questions about the site plans, please don't hesitate to ask.
Yes, I have a question. The location of the garbage and service entrances are all up against the Dubrovna Village side of the property.
Yeah.
That's going to be a noise issue. And, what are you doing what are you doing to mitigate that?
Well, two things. We have had this discussion with the Dubrovna folks. I don't know if you're one of them or not, but we haven't.
They're my constituents and they never got answers.
Okay, I actually did have conversations with a number of them, and we have an alternative scheme that we've got to look at where we might place the services so that they're not on that side of the building. That being said, the services are landscaped, they're protected visually, and they would be managed by Noble House to assure that they weren't creating any kind of nuisance. Because of course, we don't want the guests to have any visual or acoustical interruption either. So it's kind of we're going to do the best we can to come up with a solution that serves both the hotel and the residents of Dubrovna as best we can. That plan is not in here because this is a conceptual plan still, but those are alternatives that we are prepared to look into as we move forward. Did that answer your question?
Well, I get as much as an answer as I'm going to get this session, I suppose. I mean, I want to see locations before I can take any movement on this. I want to actually see finalized plans, because I'm not going to subject people to dumpsters opening at 7 o'clock in the morning and being slammed shut. That's just not reasonable for the neighbors.
Again, this is going to be a very nice hotel, and Noble House has a very strong reputation of delivering a great experience for their guests. They're not going to allow that to happen either. So I think these questions can be addressed and will be addressed by the ownership and by the operator. If you want to go to the next, is there any other questions on that? Next slide just really shows you the impact to, if you go back one, Gene, just shows you how we've mapped the trees, and we'll have worked to preserve them. I think there's a few that have to be moved, but for the most part, we've worked to protect and move the buildings and the development around them. Next slide basically shows pervious and impervious, I think. And then so you can see a vast majority of the site is permeable. And then the renderings kind of depict the character. Again, this is still conceptual, and but you can kind of see the trees at the center. So this would be coming into the site, and that the buildings themselves are very recessive and designed to be that way. Next slide shows you from an aerial from the riverside. And I think those are all the images, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Your traffic studies, when were they last done?
That one I'm going to let Jean.
Okay, we have a VMT analysis that is nearly complete. So it will be.
CMT, can you provide a definition of that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The state law changed relative to how traffic analysis need to be done. Prior to July of 2020, traffic analysis were all done on level of service. And there was a change back in 2018, effective in July of 2020, that now requires all traffic analysis to be done based on vehicle miles traveled. And it's really a model-based analysis. And so that analysis has been done and is now being further refined and should hopefully be available for public review within less than a month.
And does that now include the river and does that include River Road as an access point and not just 116?
It's actually not done based on River Road or 116 or related roads. It's really looks at vehicle miles traveled by employees and by users. And then that is run through a model, a projection model, to see whether or not the project increases the amount of vehicle miles traveled per user or decreases those miles. So it's a really different view of how to analyze traffic. But in addition to the vehicle miles traveled, we do have a traffic study that was done, and I believe that traffic study was done in 2018. I can pull that up and make sure of that date, but that is all, will also be part of the CEQA analysis, or is part of the CEQA analysis as this project moves towards public hearing.
That's the study that doesn't include River Road as being an access to this development. You only use 116 on that traffic. You're assuming that no one is going to use the 101 to River Road
Okay.
path to get in here. So that's a problem that we've noticed.
Okay, and thank you for that comment. I would just also like to comment in terms of the scope of the traffic study, that scope is not generated by our consultant. That scope is actually generated in conversation with County Public Works. And it's in that conversation that they create a memorandum of understanding in which roads are to be studied is directed by Public Works to us, and that was the basis of the analysis. But thank you for your comment, and I will certainly get that concern brought before our traffic consultants.
Yeah, if I could just add to what Nick was saying, I think the concern is a couple things, is that summer traffic patterns can really make traffic come to a standstill for up a mile or two, both east and west of Guerneville. And when you put more cars on the road, and especially down River Road, you got to make the giant assumption that more cars are going to be traveling that road, and it could exacerbate a problem that exists. And it's not just like, so it's inconvenient, but people are concerned. I mean, we've had fires here the last, consistently over the last few years. If there is a fire that happens, we have that much more traffic on the road. The access to and from the river and out of the river areas, it's limited. And so that's the crux of the question is how like during emergencies, during heavy traffic patterns, is this going to affect traffic to and from the resort? And assuming it does, is there something that we can do to mitigate that effect by some other mechanism? Like, and I don't know what those are, whether it be traffic lights or stop signs or redirects or whatever. But that's a current concern that's come up for the last 2 years consistently. And it's not about the resort itself. It's just about what happens in an emergency. What happens when I'm trying to get my prescription at Safeway on a weekend, and it could take me from Corbell to downtown Guerneville twice as long as it does now. And right now it could take 20 minutes to half hour just to go a mile and a half.
Can I speak to the issue? I think it's really kind of important that we distinguish between day trippers and overnight guests. And when you look at your own travel, when you travel and stay overnight at a hotel, think about when you actually go to a hotel and when do you leave a hotel. And I can almost guarantee you that it's not during the peak hours of what you're talking about. If you look at the people who are traveling down River Road, traveling down 116 during the period in which you're in gridlock, they're typically your day trippers.
I'm gonna disagree with you, Kirk. I mean, I live a quarter mile away from this location, and that's just not true. It's just not true.
So if that's not true, then what happens during the wintertime? Do you have the same day trippers, or who knew? Why is the traffic?
We don't have the same traffic issues that we have in the summer. In the summer, we have real traffic issues, especially at the traffic lights in Guerneville. And that's what we're concerned about.
But what I'm talking about is who is behind the wheel during those peak hours? Are they people who are staying overnight in the current lodging facilities, or are they people who are just there for the day?
And Kirk, my feeling on that is I completely hear what you're saying about day travelers, but we see traffic increase exponentially on Fridays and Sundays, right? And then it's busy during the day on Saturday and Sunday. And so Fridays and Sundays are both, they're day trippers, and they're people that come up in the weekend. But those are the 2 days that are the heaviest. And I'm gonna make an assumption that if people are coming to the resort, they're gonna come up on a Friday and leave on a Sunday, most of them.
So Nick, I'll take the blame. It's people like me and my family who live on the 101 corridor. It's folks that come out to the river and out to the coast that are causing the gridlock. And we saw that during the pandemic along the coast and along the river. It was me and my neighbors in West Santa Rosa, in Southwest Santa Rosa, in inland communities seeking respite. And you know, I know that you live with the impacts of the daily grind of gridlock. I see it. You know, I'm certainly here on the 101 corridor, but it's I think that the point that Kirk is trying to make is that the existing issues with traffic and mobility are driven by a variety of factors. And you know, when you're looking at the challenges for the river and on the coast, it is those day trippers coming on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays. That's me.
How many
Those are my
employees are
neighbors.
going? How many employees are going to be there? I
I
mean,
wanna
you know, how many employees are coming in?
I want to remind everybody this is a MAC meeting.
Yeah.
And so we don't speak unless it's the right time. So we're in the middle of the presentation at this point. And then afterwards, each of the council members can give their 2-minute comment. And then all those comments are provided to Permit Sonoma. This is not a debate. This is not a discussion. It's a MAC meeting. So if we could rope it back in and let them finish the presentation, that would be awesome.
Thanks, Elise.
Thanks.
We are completed with our presentation, and I would just like to comment that I have taken your comments and I will get those to the traffic engineer to get a response.
Great, thank you. All right.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Or actually the members of the team that did the presentation, could they just send if it's appropriate, could they just send a copy of the presentation or what they think would be appropriate to go in the minutes so we can include it? I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
You bet.
Just send it to Elise and I'll make sure I get it from her. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, with that, let's turn it over to the council for any questions or comments. Anyone have their hands? Okay, Naomi.
Hi, yes. I am a local gal that's lived here all of my life, so that's 50 years now. And I can remember way back when a little something there, maybe in the early 70s, that burned down. And after that, kind of nothing. I do understand right now that there's some public access there, and a lot of the public are not necessarily treating that property the way that they should, leaving their trash, causing a traffic jam. I do support some kind of establishment there. I appreciate the possible architecture that I've seen. It looks beautiful. I also would appreciate, we all understand living here that there are different varieties of traffic, day trippers, long-termers, all that kind of stuff. We're trying to welcome in a new business that doesn't actually cause more of an issue for everybody, your guests coming and being bottlenecked out for 45 minutes and us living here not being able to go somewhere on the weekend. So with all due respect, I think it's beautiful there. Maybe it could be smaller. Maybe it could be less than 120 rooms. Maybe it could be 75 rooms. Maybe it could be more conducive to that little spot in Guerneville Park rather than something somewhat tremendous that, although I think it might be beautiful and bring a lot of opportunity to the area, I think it's going to bring a lot of congestion and possibly frustration. And when you open up a new business, it's good to have everybody on a common ground. So thank you.
Thanks, Naomi. Mike, you got your hand raised?
Yes, I do. I just wanted to comment briefly on the earlier comment about evacuations and fires and so forth. The county has established new evacuation zones that really slice and dice the county into much smaller areas for evacuation. And Chris Godley has indicated to basically the public and to the Board of Supervisors that the new evacuation zones will work one heck of a lot better than the old zones that we had last year. So I just wanted bring up the fact that we do have the new zones and they will be evacuating in a different manner than they have in the past. So it appears to me that that may be something that we may not have to worry about at this point. Thank you.
Lucy?
Thank you. As a person who has been working on the vacation rental committee for the last couple of years, very briefly, we live in a desirable area and it's getting only more so as folks want a little bit of respite, as Efren says, from their communities, and having a place where that is not penetrated into and having the roots into every single neighborhood seems like a solution to one of the problems we're having about such pressure on people selling homes just for the purpose of vacation rentals. So I see a place for people to actually go that isn't out within each community as kind of a good thing in that regard.
Anyone else on the council have any comments? Nick?
Lisa has her hand up.
Oh, Lisa, sorry.
No problem. I wanted to know if you could talk a little bit about the infrastructure, not for too long, but like, will it be on solar? Will there be charging stations? Will the access for folks be, will they get Wi-Fi as you're, going onto the public beach? And also, if you could expound a little bit after you talk a little bit about infrastructure on your concept for the emergency shelter that this might become if there were an emergency. So it's kind of like infrastructure and then emergency, just a little bit more.
Doug, would you like to take the question on infrastructure?
Sure, I can start and then you guys can jump in if I'm forgetting anything. Again, because we're still in the conceptual phase, we haven't gotten into the details of some of the final systems that we'll want to look at. Our intention is that this is going to be a sustainable project that will have a lot of thought. We've already put a lot of thought into how water moves through the site. We'll be looking at, and of course, this is Noble House and Gatehouse will be determining. But I would expect we will have electric charging stations. We'll have all of the requirements that this kind of a facility would have, both from a regulatory standpoint, but also from a market standpoint. We intend for this property to be an asset to the community, and Noble House properties are very much focused on being environmentally responsible and operating environmentally responsible. So we'll be looking at all of those systems moving forward as we start to refine the design of the project. And as I said in the beginning, we have been very careful to preserve as much of the existing redwood trees that are on the site, and then replacing anything that is not native with more local, better solution along the river edge and the riparian area that Jean had mentioned. I don't know that we've identified what level of lead or sustainability will ultimately be at, but we're certainly going to have that at the top of the list. Penn, do you want to add anything to that? You're on mute.
Yes, thank you, Doug. Yeah, I mean, speaking to the emergency aspect, I think that we can expect to have an element of electric generator, either gas powered or such, on site that'll kind of serve to preserve the property under non-emergency circumstances should the power go out, and certainly kind of being a more community facing point of refuge should the situation turn dire.
Yeah, one of the things that's really important is that the folks have made a commitment to building a non-combustible building. So it's basically, I believe, what they call a Class A building. So it's all steel. So in an emergency environment, whether it's a flood or a fire, that property is going to be an important resource, particularly in that location for the community. And one of the most important things that I value about Noble House is they are a very community-oriented organization. For every property that they have throughout the country, they are community first. So I feel very confident that they're going to be an important part of this community.
Thanks for those answers. We'll be following the infrastructure and the benefits to the community throughout the development of the project. So thanks for that.
Well, one other thing, when we had our discussions with Sweetwater, because it's an all steel building, it does not require them to add additional water capacity, especially during an emergency, like when there's a fire, because it's all steel building. And with the new fire codes that has to do with life safety for hotels, having sprinklers that do not have to put out a lot of volumes of water, that means that that's that much more water available for emergency in other parts of the community.
Yeah, I was on the Sweetwater board when this was going through, and Kirk is right that the extra capacity did not have to be added for this, at least when I was on that board, which is great. Okay, public comment.
I'm up.
Oh, okay, Nick.
Yeah. So plenty to talk about, but let's crack the employee nut. How many employees? How many employee parking spaces?
When I last talked to Noble House, they anticipate that we would have, or they would have, about 35 employees. Now, that's 35 employees spread out over 7 days, 24 hours a day. This is a 24-hour operation. So the impacts of having 35 people spread out over that period means that you're not going to have 35 cars needed at any one time.
But you're not running this is Noble House that is going to be making these employment decisions, correct? Not you?
Yes, Noble House
Okay.
is the one that told me that they anticipate having 35 employees.
Can someone to Noble House speak to that?
Penn.
So
Sean is not here, so Penn is the
okay.
The CEO of Gatehouse, the partner in the project. I don't know if he can chime in or not, but I do recall what Kirk is describing from Sean and his team is the number of employees.
And so this is still the original size of the project, and when it was first presented, there's been no reduction based on the community's input. I mean, most of us have said that this is 4 times bigger than the largest guest accommodation facility in Guerneville and on the lower river. It seems, we've asked many times that you actually reduce the size. A lot of us think it's too big, but there's been no movement on that. How come?
Well, I'll give you my perspective on it, and then Penn can chime in. We have looked, of course, we've heard what you're describing, but you have to remember that this has to be an economic project, and it doesn't pencil if it's not a certain size. And if it doesn't pencil, it never gets built, and it'll never provide the benefits to the community as far as employment and economic benefits that have been described by Kirk. So what we've tried to do is to identify a size that works for the market and the product. And then
but not necessarily the neighborhood.
Well, I think that what we're showing you is that we're taking into consideration the impact to the neighborhood and trying to mitigate it as much as we can as far as scale. And that, if it's not successful, then the neighborhood isn't helped at all. So it needs to be an adequate size to be able to generate the returns and revenue and operate successfully. And that's what Noble House and Gatehouse do. And they've assessed this and modeled it accordingly. If you shrink it and you decrease the number of keys significantly, then you won't have a rate that will cover the project, and you end up in a situation that's not, it wouldn't get built. And if it did get built, it wouldn't be successful and contribute to the community. So it's really a balancing act between what's economic and what will be successful, and that's what we've tried to focus on. And the amounts, the rooms, the footprint, and the room counts are all what had been previously approved. And so we simply tried to take what we had as a program that was approved and be as sensitive to the community input as we could to make a project that was palatable to and would contribute to the community and would work as a business. Penn, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. And I'm happy to, because I think that, our hotel room, guest room count of 120, I mean, from a practical standpoint, we've done feasibility studies on this project on numerous occasions, and our average occupancy is going to be somewhere around 60 to 65%. So at any given time, I think we could only expect about 2/3 of those rooms to be occupied. Those rooms would almost never be co-occupied by people driving different cars. More often than not, I think that, one car may be taking 2 or 3 rooms of people from an airport, in people going on vacations together, social events, weddings, things like that. And so while we have built a parking lot that accommodates to code, and with our meeting space, employees, and the guest room count, I mean, in the age of ride sharing and just the nature of this resort business, I expect the parking lot utilization to be at less than 50% most of the time, save for the odd event or so. And with a lot of that, I don't expect a tremendous spike in kind of demand or kind of stress testing the roads with the restaurant component of this. While we expect it to be certainly accretive to the neighborhood and the project, will not have a tremendously high seat count. And further, I mean, the meeting space that we have, while lending itself to social events like weddings and things like that, during the week, much of our business is going to be coming from groups, and those groups will be traveling together. And so I think that I don't want that number of 120 to kind of stand out as being kind of the constant stress test on the neighborhood's resources, because it just won't be the case, except for the rarest of occasions.
If I can provide a point of reference, we have 82 rooms in Sebastopol. When we opened in 1998, people had similar apprehensions. We paid for a signal. It took 10 years before they had enough traffic to justify a signal. And most of that traffic isn't because of the hotel, it's because the vitality of Sebastopol and West County has grown. The same thing in Petaluma. It took 10 years to build out that traffic because there really wasn't that much traffic created by the hotel. Similarly, when we talk about being able to make financial sense of a hotel development, there have been 3 other hotel projects that have wanted to come into Sebastopol, but the size and scale just doesn't justify the economics. And today they remain just empty land. And the one that was so small that it really didn't make sense, and even day one, is today a homeless shelter.
Thanks, Kirk. All right, we're running late on time. Let's get to public comment.
Yep, if I could add just.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I have not had an opportunity to speak at all.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeanette, hold on 1 second. Your little hand is like very big on my computer. Hold on.
Okay, I understand.
Okay, Nick, Mike Nick.
Mike Nichols, all right. Just a quick comment. I believe it was Naomi that mentioned or asked whether or not solar would be feasible. And I would think because of the shade situation that solar is not feasible at the site. But we do have another workaround option that can be utilized by by the hotel, and that's by subscribing to Sonoma Clean Power's Evergreen program, which provides 100% renewable electricity. And that's a good work by that will satisfy the needs of the community as far as whether or not they're utilizing clean energy or not.
All right,
Comment.
thanks, Mike. Jeanette?
Thank you. I'll be brief. When I moved here, it was not a tourist spot. And most of the places here were built for tourists. They were second homes. That's how this place started. And Ginger's, which is what it was called that I remember, was extremely popular. This is not a new use of this land at all. And I do believe in Efren's statements and from the vacation rental study that the majority of the traffic problems are the day trippers and the locals. They are not the people staying overnight. They are just simply passing through. They are of no benefit to us, and we know the problems that are going with that. So I really support this. I also support Naomi's statement about the business. I do think we need a business. I think we need something like this in town. This is nothing new. We need to work with the day trippers. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeanette. Sorry I didn't see your hand.
Yeah, that's okay.
Right. Okay, let's go to public comments.
Okay, we have a lot of hands raised. The first is Dora Kay. Dora, go ahead and unmute yourself. Dora, you there?
Jason, she shows is still muted. Can you unmute
Yeah.
her?
Why don't we go on to the next and we can come back to Dory if she gets her microphone working.
We've got Rick Coates. Rick, go ahead.
My internet connection is a bit unstable, so I may cut in and out. In addition to being an executive director of Forest Unlimited, I'm also president of Eco Ring, which is a nonprofit that promotes ecotourism and green travel. And we would very much like to support this project. I have met Mr. Locke. I find him to be a very creative and straightforward person, very personable. And I'm really encouraged to see that Supervisor Carrillo is involved in advising him. And so I think that there's real potential for this project. I do have some concerns, however. One, I'm wondering how this project will integrate with the Lower Russian River multi-use trail, the bicycle trail that is planned. Will there be an easement for that, for example, either along the river or along Highway 116? It could, in fact, be some mitigation for traffic, minor, but some. I am concerned about vehicle miles traveled. Remember that the state policy is to decrease vehicle miles traveled, and I've yet to see too many projects that actually do that. So those are the two major concerns. I also wonder if you're integrating any rainwater catchment into the project. Since we're dealing with drought conditions, it's become pretty clear. I'm thinking that that could mitigate for water use. And then the parking seems to me to be somewhat excessive. That probably would add to the problem of traffic. And I'm wondering if there would be provision for a shuttle to the airport or and the Airport Boulevard Smart Station. Thank you.
Chair, do you want to move on to the next question, or do you want people to respond?
Sorry, I'm on mute. People can respond to the question.
Yeah, this is Ben with Gatehouse. I think the comment about the shuttle is very well received, and I think it's just kind of a function of, again, at any given time, we expect probably between 60 and 90 guests coming into our hotel, of which many will have driven, who will have no use for a shuttle. And then, I mean, as an evaluation, strictly from a customer satisfaction standpoint, if that's something we can provide to kind of service guests and to mitigate any kind of strain on the roads, that's certainly something that that we would consider. I think it also bears mentioning when it comes to traffic mitigation that we've got, we plan on both having bicycles freely available for all guests to travel. And additionally, we do have a bus stop for both employees in our public and our hotel guests. It couldn't be more convenient, the stop that's situated right in front of our hotel.
That's what I was going to add. There is a upgraded public bus stop in front of the hotel, and plus there's bicycle lanes on the road improvements along the frontage.
You know, one of the things that we spend probably a little bit extra time with our consultants on the BMT study was my personal pushback on how the state interprets the traffic mitigation and traffic count. And to me, I think that overnight visitors and the traffic that they generate is counterintuitive, because every time that the issues that you have with traffic right now already exist. The hotel's never been built. Okay, so it precedes the hotel opening. My question is, by having overnight gas, are you actually reducing the amount of traffic? And if the issue continues to persist that day trippers are the source of it, I've broached the idea of why not create a fast track counter, and you charge anyone who is got a car license that's out of county, charge them $1, charge them $2, for coming down 116. Does that then provide the community with additional resources to address traffic? But also, does that cause other people to maybe think twice before they just hop in the car and decide to drive? And I think those are, if we're looking for creative solutions, those are things I would suggest. But in the long term, where are we going, especially when all the automobile companies are saying that we're going to go electric? I'm certainly putting in electric chargers in my hotels already in anticipation that we're going to have more electric vehicles. But additionally, how many of us are going to actually be driving 10 to 15 years from now? Or are we doing a lot more shared driving? And so, it kind of goes back to the days when the Russian River, people came to the Russian River, but they came by rail. And so are we moving in that direction where we're going to be doing a lot more of transit, related type of travel into this destination?
You're on mute. Chair, you're on mute.
Sorry, my dogs were barking. So let's get to that. We have quite a few people that want to make a comment. So let's get through them as quickly as we can, because I want to make sure people are heard.
Okay. Next we have Wendy Bignall. Wendy, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Thank you. My question basically is addressing the sewer. I understand the water issue from Sweetwater, but how is the extra sewer being addressed? Are you going to have your own sewage treatment plant on premise, or are you going to tap into Sweetwater like we all are? Because I know it's already a pretty tapped system. And I'm specifically talking about poop, not water.
So Wendy, that would be the Russian River County Sanitation District that we would be hooking up to. And we've received, at least to this point, a response that they have enough capacity to take this development on. So it's Sweetwater for the water and Russian River County Sanitation District for wastewater.
All right, thanks. All right, let's go on to the next person.
Jesse Strecker.
Jesse?
Unfortunately, it looks like Jesse is using an older version of Zoom.
Okay,
Jesse. So I'd have to promote her to panelist. So let me, or him or her. So. Okay, Jesse, go ahead.
Hi there. It's me, Cynthia.
I have a lot of feedback there, Jesse.
Oh, it's actually Cynthia.
Jesse, if you could unmute one more time for me.
Okay. You know what?
Hey, Cynthia, you've got a lot of feedback. Let's see if you can fix it. Let's move on to the next person, and hopefully we can get your audio to work. So I think Patrick is next.
Okay, so we got Herman J Hernandez is up next.
Okay.
Go ahead, Herman.
Good evening, and thank you, and really appreciated this presentation. But to stay within my 2 minutes, I just want to give you a little history. My family started coming to the Russian River in 1947 and stayed at Johnson's Beach. So most of my life I've been on the river. And during the 50s and the 60s, this place was packed. And Rio Nito was full bore. The Russian River had many resorts, and I'll go into the statistics here. In 1971, I was given a list by Phil Gaddotti, who is chairman of the Park and Recreation Department, and he gave me a list of 33 hotels that existed and campgrounds existed in the Russian River area, in the Guerneville area. And the reason he made that report was because the hotel owners came demanding more recreational activities for their customers. And so in 1971, you had 33 hotels. I got to tell you, there were several of them enlarged. Today, we only have 11, including some campsites. During the 1964 flood, many of the resorts were lost in the low-lying areas of River Road. All those vacant lots past Dada Hardware were all hotels, and they were filled. And because of the 64 flood, unfortunately, they floated down the river. And that's the God's truth. The other thing is that several of our hotels have been converted, in addition to these that we have lost, have been converted since 1974 to affordable units for housing. In addition, what Jeanette mentioned was that probably 65% of our community was a vacation getaway from the San Francisco Bay Area. Those units, 65% of those units were converted into year-round living, where many of us are living today, and many of us creating the traffic. The day use is substantial. If you come in Friday afternoon from work, you're going to have some bumper-to-bumper people coming in. But on Saturday, me as a resident, I stay away from downtown. Look at the day use. In addition, when we talk about
Herman,
I want to finish. I want to finish this because we're going to have a new boat dock that the regional parks is creating at Riverside Park, which is going to create more additional day trippers. And lastly, we didn't talk about the additional cyclists that have been using our roads. And I'll end it right there. And I support the project.
Thanks, Herman. All right, are we on Adam B?
Yes. Adam?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. At first, I wanted to thank all of the MAC members for doing these meetings. Linda Hopkins, this was like the best idea. I just feel like we're part of a community now. We're all talking. We may not all agree, but this is so important for the development of this area. So the hotel, we support 100%. I live in Guerneville Park. I live with my husband. We've been here 6 years. We've watched the town kind of slowly fall into disrepair. Buildings are not being repaired in downtown. Homeless people are taking over. Crackheads every corner, meth heads everywhere. The Lock property, we used to walk our dogs there. We no longer walk our dogs there because it's just too sketchy. We can't do it anymore. And it's like, we shouldn't live like this. We should have a nicer establishment. Efren's design, that design is absolutely beautiful. And I support it. It's going to bring jobs to this area. It's going to make the people who don't think that they can have a job. It's going to bring accessibility to this town. We support it 100%. And you know, I'm so excited I can barely talk. And we have a spa coming and a bar coming and I mean, that's just amazing, you guys. And it's an unused portion that was used years ago. Let's put it back to use. It's beautiful. And the hotel design is beautiful. We should all be happy. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Cynthia, you want to try again? See if you're.
Sure. How's this?
That's better.
Okay. Well, I do have a number of questions about this project. I'm delighted with the idea that it might be used as an emergency shelter. And I'm wondering whether or not you have entered into a community benefit agreement to that, so that would indeed be legally binding. Okay. And I'm also wondering whether or not you would be willing to enter into a successorship agreement, which essentially means that the agreements would stay with the hotel. So if this hotel were then sold to someone else, then they would also let us use the hotel as an emergency shelter. Okay, I'm trying to look for ways to safeguard some of the community's interests over time, in essence. I also wondered about your thoughts with TOT. I think there's no question, but that everybody loves Sonoma County and people come and vacation here, and staying in a hotel or any place else, the impression that the West County already generated most of the TOT. I also wondered about your traffic because it seems to me it's two different things. If people are going to go into Guerneville and support those local businesses, then clearly they have to get in a car and drive there. So that is people leaving the hotel and being on the roads and creating traffic. And I've got a lot of other things, but let me just say that I wonder about your number of employees. It seems very, very low, but the other part of that is that, frankly, a lot of these jobs are going to be seasonal.
All right, thanks, Cynthia. You kind of cut out too. I think we got, I'm gonna mispronounce it. It's Mav or Mave.
Yes, thank you. That's me. First of all, thank you everyone for your time this evening and calling this meeting together. I recently moved here and I am in favor of this project. I think it will bring jobs. I know changes are hard, and although I'm a newbie, I consider this my home. I take pride in the area that I live in. I pick up trash after Airbnbs. You know, when I walk down to where the new site is going to be. So I think this development will only be very beneficial. You know, it's been a crazy year, and we've had people with traffic, people getting vaccinated. Hotel or no hotel, people are, you know, going to Duncan Mills, they're going to Mount Rio, they're going to Jenner, they're going to Bodega Bay. There's traffic on 116 River Road, right? So let's get in traffic lights. Let's get in stop signs. There's going to be day trippers no matter what. So I'm supportive of the project. I know there's a lot of unknown, but the only way is to move forward, one foot in front of the other, talk as a community, no need to bash or be harsh, right? I think the only thing we can do is to grow. And if anything, this past year pandemic, should teach us is that we are all one community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Lloyd.
Thank you very much. So anyway, we have a nice presentation. Can you hear me? Please nod.
Yep.
Wonderful. Okay. So we've had a nice presentation by Mr. Carrillo, Mr. Locke, etc. Of course, we've had public presentations of this project or its previous incarnations, and those presentations were done in public at a town hall, a special event where that was discussed. Perhaps, of course, Mr. Locke and Mr. Carrillo remember the one held at Monterrey Community Center. It was quite a turnout. And unfortunately, it seems, from what I recall, the majority of the people in attendance were opposed to the project and had good reasons that they stated, even though there were many who supported it, for many of the same reasons that we've heard tonight. Certainly one of the things that comes up is the benefits of a project, etc. At the previous meetings, at previous efforts of Mr. Locke to get rid of this property that Mr. Riley talked him into as such a grand opportunity, the benefits were overstated. It wasn't going to be that much for the community, etc. And of course, there have been, unfortunately, Mr. Locke's own personal difficulties over the years, which has not been addressed in this presentation. I'm glad that he has found some new investment partners to bring a project forward, but of course I am opposed to it. What I think should have happened to this property is that Sonoma County Land Trust should have acquired it, and it should have become a large public access park to the river. Public access to the river is declining greatly. Certainly one of the things that the developers need to keep in mind is, has the high level watermark been determined, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, this venue of a presentation is not the venue to debate or actually discuss one final point: capacity. While wastewater treatment plant has capacity to treat, it does not have the capacity to dispose of the treated wastewater. Thank you.
Next, we have Patrick Novak. Patrick, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, I'm just in support of the project that's going to happen. I live in Guerneville Park, and I'm super excited that it's going to happen because we need change in Guerneville. We need it to happen. We need it to grow because it's good for us. It's a great, great thing.
Thank you, Patrick. I think we got Vera next.
Hello again. I just want to get my question answered about, is the park and ride being considered for as a rest stop with bathrooms, changing into a rest stop with bathrooms?
Oh, hey, Vera, we're not on that. We're not on that subject.
Isn't the meeting going to end?
Let's go on to Anna. Oh, Anna didn't have her hand up. So is there more on Facebook, Jason?
Well, we have several in the Q&A.
Okay.
You wanted me to read each one? Chair?
Yeah, if they weren't repetitive to what we've already talked about.
I'll read each one. Adam B, suggestion, a hotel shuttle from airport to hotel, 2 birds, 1 stone. Dora K, how much will the rooms in this gated hotel cost? How will it benefit the local residents? Dora K again, thank you, Ms. Hofstetter. Other comments may be self-interested with respect to the resort, quote, economic development. Where's the water for this mega hotel to come from? Frank Grand, what is anticipated for timeline for build out, mitigation of noise? And I believe Elise is answering one, Vera False.
Oh, that's an unrelated question.
Yeah, that's an unrelated question. So.
Okay. So I think that's all of the questions and answers. So, sorry, this sometimes is a little confusing on two different platforms, but anyway, thank you so much, you guys, for coming and presenting. I'm actually excited for the resort to come in. I only have one concern and I've expressed it, and I hope we can figure out ways to mitigate that. That said, we are going to move on to our next topic, which is vacation rentals. Once again, thank you all for coming, participating, and answering questions and hearing folks out.
Thank you.
Pip, since this is our first time, could we just take a second to say that what the next steps are for when something is presented for land use? I believe what happens at this point is that we take all the public comment and the presentation and the information, and we provide it back to Permit Sonoma, so it becomes part of the permanent record, and it becomes part of the pieces that are considered when they're looking through the permit. The standing committee will also be following up on the progress of this project, and will be reporting on it under the land use portion of the newsletter, and at future MAC meetings if such a thing is necessary. So it's not just a presentation, it's dropped. There is follow-up now that will happen with the standing committee and with Permit Sonoma on this project.
Right, and the standing committee also, another benefit is to get more public participation, so they can publicize when other public meetings that are happening about a project outside of a MAC meeting.
Thank you.
Great, thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we are on to vacation rental. The vacation rental topic. And I'll be super quick. I just want to say thank you to everyone that is on this committee, from the chair to council members to volunteers that are helping out. There has been a lot of work on this committee, more than I've ever seen on the MAC by any committee, to really try to understand the landscape that we all live in, and try to uncover information that's available to us, so people have more information and the county has more information and Permit Sonoma information, and they've been doing a really, really great job digging into it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Vesta.
Okay, and I'm going to ask Nick and Lucy, my co-chairs, to unmute so they can speak up we will just do this like we hang out together because we all have something to say. It's been actually a very interesting journey. One of the things that we wanted to learn how vacation rentals impact our community, both positive and negative, but we're seeking is a balance. As one of the things that Lucy said is having a hotel in the area does take some of the pressure off of people staying in our neighborhoods. So what are the issues around the neighborhoods that we've been coming up with? I did write a report, and I'm going to give both the report and all of the images that I planned on showing to everybody to basically to Elise, and it'll all go back up onto the reports that come out after these meetings. And then also we do have a website that I want to show you. But before I get into any of those details, I know that both Nick and Lucy have something to say as they've been working on this aspect of things. Nick, Lucy, which one of you want to go first?
I'll go. So basically, I'm going to handle the need for enforcement. I just wrote something out really quick. We need a robust mechanism to address violations in a transparent fashion. The perception is in the community is that there is no enforcement, and for the residents of the Lower River, perception is reality. We can't find a single instance of a permit being revoked for violations of the vacation rental ordinance, and without any sort of weekend enforcement, the county can be reasonably questioned about its sincerity regarding such enforcement. Permit Sonoma is critically under-resourced when it comes to enforcement, and we see this in other areas as well. The ongoing situation with winery events being another example of needing a more robust enforcement. The county doesn't even have an accurate count of the number of vacation rentals in the county. We're just working with Permit Sonoma, and we're finding exactly how much they do not know, and it's a lot. There's no central database of these properties that's held by the county that is easily accessed. We're having to scrape this information off of websites, off of county databases. It is tedious, it is annoying, and it takes a lot of work. There's no way to contact, and because of no central database, there's no way to contact these homes in a mass email blast or telephone call in case of emergencies or evacuations. The current situation isn't fair to the local agencies. The local agencies actually pay more in fees and taxes than do the online platforms. And we are trying to get our local agencies to be a bigger part of the situation, but they feel left out of the equation and actually sort of feel like the redheaded stepchildren of this. We need to engage with these people. We need to support the local businesses, and we need to have these out of the area online platforms toe the line. The CASA has an out-of-state switchboard that you call if you have a problem that is not in line with the ordinance. I've been on hold for 45 minutes before I got the phone picked up, and someone then hangs up. So it's not working, and we really need a more robust enforcement, weekend enforcement officers available to patrol and address complaints, and a robust, transparent system where the community can inquire and see the records of these homes. Thanks. I'm done.
Lucy.
Thanks, Nick. A little bit different viewpoint, just to remind people that last year our report was a snapshot in time, and what we found is what we didn't know, which was we didn't have the data. So I'm proud of this committee for wanting to collect that data and be able to better present an informed recommendation. The situation is that we also recognize that even though the committee, and most of the committee are for businesses, are pro businesses, are pro vacation rentals, it's who we've been, it's in our past. But with that explosion of desirability, is this only who we can be in the future? So is there a balance, win-win for the county TOT taxes, for the businesses who need that money, but also for, do we want to drive out all the neighbors in the process, and who is it? Who are we? So this committee wants to look at that. And on another note, because I'm on this committee, I was turned down for a rental. They thought I was a great person until they found out I was on the vacation rental committee. And so that made me suspect, because this person who's a vacation rental owner felt as though I wasn't on their side. And last night I talked to a gentleman for about an hour about how our desire to get data about what's going on here is considered anti-business. And I know that that's a challenge that we have to face, but I can assure you, we want that balance so that the county doesn't just say, oh, this is such a mess, let's shut it down altogether. That's not our goal. We want to be able to have those businesses and still have a community. And how are we going to do that? And that's the challenge.
Thank you, Lucy. It's unfortunate that she's had this unfortunate experience. We did get some suspicions that what we're doing is like an anti-community, and we're going, whoa, so if we're anti-community, we're anti-business, what are we? And what we are people seeking balance, because we need these businesses, we need these the neighborhoods, we need places for people to live, because of, we know personally in the Lower River area that the lower school enrollment is impacted our high school. So we don't have an El Molino High School anymore. And part of that has to do with the fact that we don't have enough students and families living in this area. I do want to show you some things. I'm going to do a screen share because we discovered so many things. It's like we had this plan and this attitude about where we're going, and then new stuff comes up and new stuff comes up and new stuff comes up, and we go, whoa, where are we going now? So I want to show you some things. I'm going to screen share and tell me if this works. Ta-da. Okay, I think it worked. What I'm showing you right now is the spreadsheet that we currently are using. It's rather involved. Its host has spotlighted your video for everyone. Thank you very much. One of the things in the vacation rental ordinance is that every vacation rental has to have its own parking. And here we discover these properties that say no parking available right on the website. And this is 3-bedroom, 3-bath capacity for 12 guests, 2 bedrooms capacity for 8 guests, but they don't have parking. So then you get into, okay, and before I go to that last little bit there, I want to show you what our list is. It's rather extensive. It goes town by town. Let me see if I can back out a second so that you can get a better idea of what we're doing. We're sorting these out by community, and you can see that the green parts there are what we got from the county, and that's how much information we can get from the permit website. That's it.
Hey, Vesta, I don't mean to interrupt you, but can you enlarge your Excel spreadsheet because it's really tiny on the screen?
I'm just basically scrolling through so you can see that
Right.
what we get from the county is next to nothing.
Okay.
And this is actually Gary Helfrich is working for us from Permanent Sonoma. And so he says, yes, that's exactly what you have and what you get. And this is where we are searching for more information. So when you see these colored bars going across, those are the ones that we've researched that have been given to us or we know about, and we're researching in depth and filling in more spaces. The spaces that people want us to fill in are rather extensive. So you get into, okay, all these things you can see in the yellow bar across the top are things that people have asked us to research, just like, are there dogs allowed? Is there a pool and a spa because it's outdoors? The only judgmental parts on this one is good, bad neighbor. And then we're asking people to rate it 10, 1 through 10. But that's it in terms of any judgment. And I want to show you on my, you got this one here, ta-da! I want to show you some of the things that we are doing for finding these properties, because Nance asked me about, well, are you verifying each one of them? Yes, we are, in the same way that Permit Sonoma does. So we get an address that comes to us via our website, and that looks like, well, I tell you what, I'll do it this way. That looks like this. Can I get it there to do it? Okay, so that comes through, this is what it looks like. It's 100% anonymous. Right there in the middle, it says 16768 Gernwood Road. That is 100% anonymous. Anybody who gives us information, we have no idea who gave it to us. And then we go through and we look to find what the information is. So I'll show you briefly that we go to Permit Sonoma, you can put in an address, and then we find the address, and then we find the permit history. This is an example here of a place in Monterey. We find the lot, we find it online. We find that the only place it's listed is online, but not their own website. We discover that they're putting together a website. We go into the Google Street View to find it. We look to see, oh, look, they do have their own parking. That's a wonderful thing. Do they list a 24/7 number to call? And this is one of the really important things. According to the permit, you're supposed to have an announcement about who to call 24/7, but it's supposed to be inside the building. We thought it was outside the building, that possibly the neighbors could go simply call. So that's where you get into, all right, let's talk about two issues that seem to be the most important ones. If you go into Permit Sonoma, and there's the vacation rental permit, and then the updated ordinance, and you can read the ordinance, where are vacation rentals allowed. This is all really important information for people to have. What happens when you submit a complaint, blah, 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 blah. What we discovered is that you can literally, that all vacation rentals, and my God, I gotta find that page. Where the hell did it go? All vacation rentals have required that they have parking, and that they also have this 24/7 number to call. And what we're hoping is that with the new ordinance, not only will the enforcement be around the parking, but that they will require the property to have, why can't I find this? Oh, there it is. Okay. Require the property to have a 24/7 notice outside the building. Because if you have a notice outside the building, you could actually call the property manager 7 days a week. And that means that you would not be calling the sheriff, because it's not a criminal thing to have your lights on or to have noise or any of those kinds of things. The sheriff cannot respond, does not need to respond, and should not respond. It should all be the property managers and the owners of the property. And that's what Nick brought up, is that the one aspect of it is property managers are local. The whole concept of, can we support local property managers? They should be within a 30-mile radius of vacation rental. It's right in the ordinance. You should be able to contact them 24/7 and have somebody come out. Start with the property manager, start with the owner before you ever get to the sheriff, and start there. And then if you need to file a complaint, the Permit Sonoma has a way to do it. So we're really hoping that property managers and local owners will buy into this concept of, we need to be able to contact people if there is a problem, someone who's right here in the neighborhood. And then the other part about emergencies, when we have emergencies, there have been people who've told us that they're banging on the doors of the vacation rental because those people don't have Nixle alerts. They have no idea that we're about to evacuate. So the neighbors are taking the time to alert these guests that we got to go. So that's one of those really, really important things that I think we're just going to have to that's going to have to change in this ordinance. And the concept of the posting this, this concept of posted within 6 feet of the front door, that's not good enough. It really has to be on the outside of the building. The initial complaints 24/7 right there to the people who can do something about it. And then people brought up things like the noise, or they said we don't have a noise ordinance, but you know what, the vacation rental ordinance does have a noise issue about it. So therefore, yes, we can actually say you need to be quiet from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. And if the people at the place don't want to quiet down because they're having a good time, then we should be able to call the owner or the property manager. So we're really, really hoping that property managers and owners will see that we're on their side. We want to live in comfort with these vacation rentals and short-term rentals. It's really, really important. And there are probably just a few minor changes that need to come down in the ordinance. And one of the things I want to show you is that we do need your information. Oh God, this is hard. Like I say, this list, let me tell you, this list is huge, and it's pretty much me, Isa, and a little bit of Lucy and a little bit of Nick trying to fill in these spaces and research the entire internet. oh my God, that's a lot to do. So what we're asking is, because we volunteer, this is not a job. We're asking if you could give us some input, and we're trying to make it as simple as humanly possible. We're not asking that you fill out spreadsheets and know anything about spreadsheets. This is the form that is on the website, russianrivermac.org. And this form is very, very simple. And we actually have it divided out into our districts. You can tell us what district it's in, because the addresses that come from Permit Sonoma, most of them will say Guerneville, Forestville, Monterey, but it won't say Pocket Canyon. It won't say Cazadero, Duncan's Mills. It won't say Rio Nido. It won't say Hacienda. We're going to have to figure this one out and put them in the proper places. These are the districts so you can see where you are. This is actually a zoomable map. And then please fill out these questions that we get, and that it's like, you won't have answers to all these questions, but things like, does it have parking spaces? Did you find this on a website? The booking URL is really important to us, because that tells us that sometimes it's Airbnb, sometimes it's VRBO, sometimes it's Vacasa. And you know that no one's going to show up within 30 minutes and tell you that there's a problem at this house, and tell those people there's a problem at this house. So this is the part, and then you can make little comments and tell us other information you want. We need information desperately, and we could really use your help just to rewrite this ordinance. It's not that we're trying to judge it yes or no. It's not that we're trying to make this a positive or negative about this business. We really just want this ordinance to be better, and that it has a little bit of teeth in it for enforcement. Like Nick says, that the winery event centers are also having the same problem. And so we want the neighbors around them. We want somebody who's available at night and on weekends, basically 24/7 for enforcement. And we would love to see that people who manage these properties are people who live here and can actually do something about it. So I do want to just show you the little bit about the maps. I know I showed this last time. Hopefully this will move it pretty fast. That what will happen with these maps is we will be able to get right into a neighborhood and show where these things are neighborhood by neighborhood. And that's going to tell us information that your neighbors need to know. And here's a real, just little bit of side benefit, is that if you wander around your neighborhood and you find the vacation rentals in your neighborhood, you're going to get to know your neighborhood. And just like Lucy's neighborhood has put together a Map Your Neighborhood program, which is about emergencies, we're hoping that you're going to get to know your neighborhood well enough to set up a system for emergencies for your neighborhood. So I will take off, I believe I can do this easily, not too sure. I will take off my screen sharing, stop share, and open this up for other people to make comments, because we would love to get your input on what we're doing. We're really just trying to serve the community, because that is our job as the Lower River MAC, to represent all of us in this community and to serve both residents and businesses for Sonoma County. So thank you.
Thanks, all three of you. Does any council member have any questions or comments? Mr. Nichols.
Just a quick comment with a couple of minor questions. Did you, in developing your survey, besides the county, did you reach out to the various rental agencies for their information? Were they able to provide any information to you regarding their client lists?
I can answer that, Tessa.
Go for it.
They don't want to play with us. They don't feel that the county is doing anything that is in their interest, and don't want to participate in this process at all.
Okay, then a follow-up question. Did you reach out to the tax collector? They collect the bed taxes, and I'm wondering if you could coordinate a listing of receipts through county tax collector and see if that can drop into your matrix.
Not yet. I know that I asked a couple of people to give us contact. The only contact we've had so far is with Permit Sonoma, and Permit Sonoma has been very cooperative. They have to do the exact same thing we do. Go online, find the website, find the information. But like I showed you with the spreadsheet, it's so limited what they want. What we want is more information. One of those questions is, I thought it was in the ordinance that they had to put a 24/7 sign outside the building for neighbors to call, but it's not. It has to be inside the building. So that means that there's the system that Permit Sonoma has is you need to go onto the Permit Sonoma website, find the address, find the permit history, and then find the 24/7 number, which is on Permit Sonoma's site. It took us a while to even learn that TVR permits are recent permits, but there's ZPE permits and other permits that go back in history. That was something that we had to know. We had to find out over time. It's like we are these little detectives going, wow, this is not where we live. This is not our, our knowledge base. So people like you who say, go to the tax collector. Yeah, now who do we talk to? It would really help to get a contact on who do we talk to. That's why Gary Halbrook has been so helpful for us.
We can help you out with the county tax collector's office, and they should be able to provide tons of information for you.
Yeah, apparently they do the permits more than the permit.
Lost you, Vesta. You're on mute somehow.
Unmute. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we could use that information because we don't have it currently.
Excellent.
Yeah.
We'll see if we get it.
We got a long way to go. But I want to say that Gary says that the Board of Supervisors is going to do a workshop in July on the vacation rental ordinance. I don't have a date and time yet, but at least I know it is in July. It's one of the reasons we felt a little bit pressured to start getting this expanded out a little faster. It's just a workshop, and then it'll go on from there. There's many steps to all of these things. I don't think that the ordinance will be rewritten until probably next year. Maybe Elise or someone can fill me in on that. But we have a lot of information to collect still, and we could use some help. We could definitely use some help.
Thank you. Jeanette.
I would like to say that I did have some constituent feedback that they did not take part because they felt that the questions were very personal and unwarranted. And I have difficulty reading your spreadsheet because it's so tiny, but there were some points like, of what value is the building permit number to your study? Those kind of questions. I think
someone asked us to put that on there, and that's why we put it on there. It's not that, it has nothing to do with us. It has to do with basically some of those things that Permit Sonoma asked us to put on there because they need the information separate from what we're doing. But yeah, I mean, what's personal? I'm a good neighbor, bad neighbor is the only thing I think that's personal.
Well, when your goal is to identify and understand the importance to the residents, I don't get what permit numbers and all that is of value. I guess what I'm basically trying to say is that I would like to discuss how you go about formatting a study. I mean, there are methods to do it. And I think if this is the role that we're getting into, I think we need to look at more professional studies. That there
Okay,
is. So
yeah,
that's it needs to be more professional. And the data needs to be dependable.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. That's why we're verifying every property.
And we're also doing this with Permit Sonoma. They're providing valuable input on our sources and methods. So we are working with professionals, Jeanette. So I
would like to talk to you about it, Vesta. I think they're.
Sure. We can have coffee. We've done that really well. Well, the coffee shops are open again. Every question that is on the form online is a cell in the spreadsheet. So even though you couldn't see the spreadsheet, what that does is it downloads to the mapping program, but I have not updated the mapping program. Right now, the mapping program that is on the website is only the information we got from Permit Sonoma. But we can expand on that with all those cells are things that people said, could you add this? Could you add that? Could you add that? So we just kept adding things. I don't expect those to be populated necessarily. And when you click on an icon on the map, it does open up all the questions that have been answered, but it does not list the ones that have not been answered. So you'll see if you go onto the website, russianrivermac.org, and you get into, it's just our group that has this website. It's not the rest of the MAC. But yeah, we're verifying every property. And the thing is that one of the things that Nance brought up was, she said, are you doing an analysis? And no, we're not. That's not our job. Basically, as we're supplying the information to Permit Sonoma, and if they want to do an analysis, they can do the analysis. But our stuff is just basically helping them. And Gary has said they have a very complex web scraping program, kind of like host compliance, but that only scrapes information that is very narrow. It won't tell you whether they have a sign outside. It won't tell you how many parking spaces they have necessarily. It won't tell you many things. So you literally have to do, like I showed you, go onto a Google Map Street View and find out the other information. And somebody mentioned something about the sign. The sign is definitely inside the building, not outside the building. That's something that we would love for neighbors to have, is just a 24/7 contact number outside. It doesn't have to be any more than that.
I would still suggest that you look at a more formal way of composing a study, a survey. You need that's all I'm asking, is that it be more professional.
I don't know what formal would be.
I will help you with
You'll elaborate on that. I know you will, Jeanette. You'll give me all the details you want.
All right.
Anything else?
Does any other council member have any comments? We have comments in the on the public side too, so we want to make sure we get to those.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, let's turn it over to public comment. David, I know you have been waiting to talk on this. Hi, David.
Hi there.
Hi,
hi everyone. I wanted to actually kind of continue on Jeanette's comments. I agree that some more formal studies should be, well, no, not that a more formal study should be done. I would feel irresponsible if I didn't express my concern with neighbors asking neighbors to report information on each other. I think it's an extremely slippery slope.
Yep.
It really, really concerns me greatly. I understand the need for data. I don't think we should at all be casual with saying things like, well, we put that on there because someone asked to put it on there. Well, I think there's great consequences in this. And also, I would be worried about verifying data and then submitting it to the county. I don't know what the implications of that are if you have verified data incorrectly. I think that's
I don't know what you mean by incorrectly. It's the same process that Gary Helfrich
well,
says.
but who are you, Vesta, or anyone else to verify information by just going online?
Oh, no, it's more than that. I mean, here's the big deal. We're working with Gary on this one, and that's part of because it's Permit Sonoma who will be rewriting the ordinance. And I definitely don't understand the concept of, like, okay, would a neighbor turn in a neighbor? Like, no one would know who that is, but what do you mean turn in? Most of the neighbors would actually want to know, like in the Map Your Neighborhood program. That's one of the things that Map Your Neighborhood does. You literally go around your neighborhood and you find out where the babies are, where the old people are who need help, who has a nursing degree can help, where the emergency services are going to be parking. That's all the stuff that Map Your Neighborhood does as well. So is this a great opportunity to get to know a neighborhood? Now, if enough people say we're not going to help you and you're just on your own, then either we will disband this committee or we will say, well, you know what, Permit Sonoma is just going to have to do this themselves because our community is objecting to what we're doing. And if that's the case, like I say, it's extremely time consuming. We don't have to do this, but we really do believe that we could have a positive impact for our neighbors living in balance with vacation rentals, and especially bringing the vacation rental management into our community instead of having so much of it be out of our community. It's rather upsetting if you try to call somebody and say, these people are leaving their lights on all night long. These people are having a party and there's nobody answering the phone. I mean, really, it's really would help an awful lot if we had somebody local to talk to. because no one's committing a crime. We just need someone local, and that would benefit the local businesses. We would think it would benefit the local businesses.
All right.
And the other thing too is we're not necessarily looking at these as just neighbors. They're also small businesses. You know, we're looking at them as businesses more than as neighbors, and we're trying to keep track of all the businesses that have proliferated all over the Russian River. And that's basically what we're trying to do. We're trying to do a census and get and have some sort of basis so we can evaluate. I mean, even the discussion about the Guernwood Lodge or the Guernwood Resort project, we don't have enough data because we really don't even know how many vacation rentals there are. So we don't know how an extra 120 rooms is really going to impact the river, because we have this big black hole of data that is the impact of vacation rentals and their density and location.
And we can
one of the things around the neighborhood density.
Sorry, Vesta, I'm just going to jump in. We can check with the county council on the privacy concerns as well, and I'm happy to do that. We can also check with you about the accounting, and the workshop is going to be on July 20th. So
July 20th, thank you. And that's at the Board of Supervisors, right?
Yeah, thank you so much for all your work. If we can move forward, that would be really
Can I
great.
jump in with one comment?
Naomi, we're still in the public.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay.
You got to get them in faster.
Okay, and just one thing around the neighborhood density. Permanent Sonoma does not have that information. And so they were really happy to see us have this little the program, which is a Google Map program that puts a dot on the map. And it lets them look at it in a way that they have not been capable of looking at it also. And so far they're going, thank God, we really need this help. So.
Right. All right, let's move to, okay, help me if I'm saying your name incorrectly. Sinette?
I mean, yes, it is Sinette, actually. You did it correctly. Thank you.
Awesome.
I am actually just following up with David, who is one of my neighbors as well. I just had a couple questions about this committee that you guys are forming to locate vacation renters. I think I kind of have the same concern that he has. It feels very much like you're kind of spying on your neighbors. I don't get me wrong. We live in Pocket Canyon, and we have an amazing community who always looks out for each other, you know, no matter what. We bang on doors, whether they're vacation renters or not during fire season. We always stay informed with each other, whether we get along or not. But I just feel like creating a separate which is my understanding, so please correct me if I'm wrong, creating a separate unit that basically goes around and puts addresses in and says, I think that person, or that neighbor says, I think that person's a vacation renter because there's people over there making a lot of noise. Well, you know, they could just be letting their friends use their house for the weekend. It feels a little bit kind of like ratting people out and ratting neighbors out. And I don't think that it creates a trust. I believe that if your neighborhood is secure enough, like I think are in Pocket Canyon, you know, we would just call that homeowner. We'd be like, hey, do you have your friends over there, or are you renting the place? I just feel like the last option to ever do is go and contact the county or type in an address and register it with with this program, and then you know you're kind of like inputting them into a system that you could be totally wrong about them.
Well, if they have a permit, they have a permit, and so they're already in the system.
But sometimes friends allow their friends to use their vacation, their personal home that they vacation at, not as a rental. Okay, like they're not renting it for money. They're renting it they're giving it to their friends to use, and they're having they're having like a celebration for a birthday party or something like that. They could therefore be registered in the system. I feel like it's a very divisive system.
I don't understand.
All right.
Yeah, but if they are a neighbor who's having their friends over, they would not be on that spreadsheet. They would not be registered with the county, and so they would not be in the system, in our system either. That's the way it is. There's no ratting here. I mean, seriously, this is just if the permit Sonoma was to say, what's one of the things they're considering is a maximum density of vacation rentals versus residents. What, they have it on their website. What is the percentage of vacation rentals in a neighborhood, which is usually defined by the neighbors themselves, that is comfortable for people? Maybe it's 10, maybe it's 20%. They don't have that information neighborhood by neighborhood. And so we're cooperating with them on giving them that information, but there is no ratting. I mean, seriously, this is, for one thing, it's 100% anonymous, but there's no ratting. I mean, it's like, this is, I really don't understand that perspective. So sorry.
Okay, all right, we do have to move on. It's 8:20. And I can't see any hands raised that haven't already talked or asked a question on this in the public.
David Bloomster, and then Naomi also has
Oh, okay.
questions.
Okay. Thank you,
Yep,
Jason.
go ahead.
Yeah.
David, unmute yourself.
David, are you there?
Yep, I sure am. Thank you. I spoke before and I just wanted to reiterate, I don't think we can laugh this off. I know it's only gathering data. There's not that much information. Again, it's just a slippery slope. And I really think you need to consider this, because what's the next data set that's going to be asked for? And that's all. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, David. Jason, you said there was someone else?
That's all we have. Well, that's all we have in the public. Naomi had her hand up.
All right, Naomi, can you be quick?
Yep. So I totally appreciate everybody's time and effort and what they're doing, but I honestly feel from my years of experience that the county is pushing their job back on us. The county has taken in so much money through TOT. I stood up and discussed this 9 years ago or something in front of the county board. I have no idea why they can't figure out their own enforcement. They've been basically paid enough money.
Yeah.
I understand we're trying to help our neighbors and we feel kind of like desperate or something, but this is ridiculous. I really think that the direction is to go back towards them, and they need to do something with those funds that helps from where the funds are generated. It makes no sense to me at all. You get a permit, you know who's there, it's all there. It's really, really simple. So thanks.
All right, thanks, Naomi. We really do have to move on. I'm sorry that.
Can I just ask one question? If the permit, the new permit ordinance said there needed to be a 24/7 telephone number outside the building, accessible to neighbors, that one thing, would that make a difference?
It would depend upon the size of the sign and where the sign is located. If it's located on the property and you're trespassing to read the phone number on the sign, that could create a problem.
Well, yeah, personally, I would want it out by the street, you know, and it would have to have probably a certain size limitation, but that's not in the ordinance. It's only inside the building, which no one has access to. They actually expect people to go to that website to find the information.
All right. Okay, we really do have to move on. It's 8:20, almost 8:25. But thank you, the three of you. There's lots to chew on here and figure out. But we got to move on now to residential parking.
Pip, do you want me to give a quick update?
Yeah, just a quick, very quick update would be great.
Yeah. So I'm very proud of our committee. We went forward and got the survey out, got the results back. We had some champions meet. And unfortunately, with only 2 areas really interested in moving forward, there just wasn't enough support. I know that Elise reached out to other MAC areas and districts to see if there's any other support, because you need to have so much to be able to go forward to the board for an ordinance. And we just did not have that support. There wasn't enough public interest in that. And therefore, we kind of switched gears, and we were hoping to put a nice little bow on the package, so to speak, with some monies earmarked in the county supervisor's budget, the county for some parking enforcement. So that is yet to be determined. That's why I asked Linda regarding that. I'm hoping that there will be either some earmarked money or maybe some contingent money that can be used just within the summer times at least to enforce the parking. That was one of the biggest issues that people raised. So the committee will be dissolved at this point, and I think everybody, Lisa and Cynthia, not Cynthia, anyway, everybody on the committee. I have old age brain syndrome going on here. But you know, it was a great effort. There was a lot of interest in, you know, particularly out of Forestville and Hacienda. I feel for them because they've got some real problems going on. So hopefully parking enforcement monies will be available through CHP or whoever, and we can get some regulations out there and help, much needed help. Thank you. Lisa, did you want to mention anything?
Oh, I was just about to type it in the chat. It was Claudia.
Claudia, thank you.
Yep.
Claudia and Bruce.
There we go.
Oh,
Got
right. Bruce.
All right, does the council have any questions for on parking? Vesta?
Yeah, I'm wondering if because the parking only addressed beach access parking. When I discovered these businesses with no parking for the people who are at the business, would that parking ordinance be able to expand out into a larger, basically a larger subject, a topic that is not just beach access, but actually gets into a neighborhood that does not have a lot of parking, like so many of these tiny little roads winding up hills, and then there's this business has no parking for its customers. Is that something that we could expand this to instead of just shutting it down?
That included it. It was covered.
It was covered? Okay.
All right, great. Any other council comments or questions on parking? All right, let's move to the public really quickly. And this is on parking is the subject we're on. So do we have hands raised about parking? Jason, do we or not? Hello?
I don't see any hands up. Oh, there's 3 participants raising their hand now. Phil Gross or
Phil?
Can you hear me?
Hi, Phil. Is your question about parking?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, Vesta, first of all, this had nothing to do with beach access. Nothing. This is to do with emergency access and egress right now as we speak. There are 5 cars parked in Hacienda that would block fire trucks from making difficult turns right now. So I appreciate the work that's been done so far, but you know, you're treating 2 communities that want to do this like that's a problem. That is a huge opportunity. We can do a controlled pilot program. We did the survey in midwinter about summer parking. It was not top of mind for most of the residents, and for the people that only come up here in the summertime, they were not involved in that survey. It was a faulty process. So this program, I'm just really distressed that you're abandoning the committee. This would be a very useful pilot program that would provide immediate benefits. The garbage, the violence, the needles, the drunks, that no other solution that has been proposed in the history of ever has had such promise to resolve these programs almost instantly, or at least to materially improve them.
I was just thinking.
Kyra?
I'm so sorry this has gone on so long.
Kyra, Lisa, Elise, We
They
appreciate the
are
work you
actually
put in on
really
this.
important topics.
You know that. But after so many years, when the issues get worse year after year, every year, if the county is unwilling to give this a try, when we have two communities ready to step up and make it happen, and the county is unable to even propose an alternative solution, if you abandon this now, the county is abdicating its responsibility to the residents of Hacienda and Forest Hills, and in fact, countenancing all of this disruptive, violent, dangerous, illegal behavior. This is serious, folks. You have a solution in front of you. Seize it.
Is this the 2-minute thing, Mr. Chair, and we should move to the next person?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. I don't think I can't see any other people that have their hands raised. Is that correct?
We don't have any more hands raised. Yes.
Okay, great. So let's move on. Elise, got staff report. You're muted.
Boy, I've been muting and unmuting so fast all night.
I know. I know you were talking, and I tried to. Never mind. It doesn't matter.
I tried to be. Oh my gosh, sorry. I want to start with an update on the Tour Monorio Park. It's been requested that we provide an update every meeting, and so here we are. They are in. They have crews right now working on the trails, doing property cleanup, signage, and limited veg work that was going on right now. They are going to be doing continued property cleanup with cannabis, homeless encroachments, those sorts of problems that they're working on. There are resource studies underway. They're working with Gold Ridge Resource Conservation District to look at the roads, the sediment, and forestry plans. There will be a public planning process for this park for the master plan after some initial work in the fall. This fall, the target is to have some guided tours of some sort to be offered in the fall or winter, contingent upon the timing of property cleanup. They are in touch with Baxman of the Monorio Fire Department to ensure coordination there. So that's the update on the Tour property. The update on the Confluence project, the Russian River Recovery Project, we're going to be putting out a press release in 2 weeks and a website on that. More information will be put up on the Facebook page, the Russian River Municipal Advisory Council Facebook page, and on Supervisor Hopkins newsletter, so that we will start public community meetings on that in July. And the last one is the ADA Russian River, the ADA Guerneville Revitalization Project. In 2022, Caltrans is going to be starting an ADA project on 116, going from the bridge down into right about where West Sonoma Inn is. And they're going to be looking at widening some areas, making sure that there's adequate ADA, looking at crosswalks, maybe some lighted crosswalks in different areas and different aspects like this. We're working on a committee that will be talking with different Main Street businesses and related downtown businesses and residents about their input. There is a possibility that we can leverage that work being done with Caltrans to do some additional beautification projects, move some trees, have some bulb outs, do some widen some sidewalks, So at this point, we're at a getting information stage, trying to find out from locals what they'd like to see. And then what we'll do is we'll take that information and we'll feed it back to both Transportation and Public Works, as well as Caltrans and their design people, and we'll see what's doable. people have been kind of concerned about who's the committee going to be, who's going to be making this decision. Really, what we're going to be doing is gathering ideas and then feeding them up to County Transportation and Public Works and to Caltrans, who will look at the design, will look and see what's feasible, will look and figure out what's how much it would cost to do these different things, and then we'll come back again and look at what's still available in that list, and then finalize it with input from the community and of course Supervisor Hopkins, depending on where we can get the funding for it. So there are a lot of steps in this. We're in the first steps, which is gathering ideas and information. And so you'll be getting, there will be flyers put out. We'll have some community meetings and do a lot of different things that can to gather that information. And you'll be hearing a lot more about this in future meetings. Mike, you have a question?
Thank you, Elise. Yes, I do. I have a question about going back to your confluence conversation that you briefly reviewed, and that information was in our board packet. And what I was concerned about is Lake Mendocino, as Supervisor Hopkins mentioned. It's disastrous up there right now.
Yes.
But is there any modification on the coming forth on the water curve, the storage water curve analysis that has to be done with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, number one? And the old water curve study was based upon, quote, normal, end of quote, years. And we need to take a look at what happens in drought conditions like we've been experiencing. And I don't believe that water curve, water storage curve has been modified for drought years. So can you, I don't know if you can comment on that or provide any information.
I can find out the information and get it back to you as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Elise. And the second question, point is, I also received a copy of the Guerneville proposal from Caltrans, and it looks like they're looking not at lighted crosswalks because of the fact we have a flooding condition here, and the maintenance is horribly expensive on the lighted crosswalks. What they're looking at is a Hawk system, and that's a series of overhead lights. There are no other Hawk systems in Sonoma County, but I'll be in San Francisco next week, Father's Day weekend, looking at the Hawk system that was installed on Sloat Boulevard between 19th and Fleischhacker Zoo. So that should give us a little bit better control of what's going on.
Great. I look forward to hearing your report on that.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the council have any questions or comments? No. Any public comments or questions? Thank you, Elise. All right, does anyone have, any council member have any comments that they want to make at this point? I hope not.
It'll be very, very brief. Cazadero Community Services District and West County Health are having a pop-up vaccination clinic in Cazadero at the firehouse at 5980 Cazadero Highway next Tuesday between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. Anyone over the age of 12 qualifies for a vaccine, and the recipients there would have a choice between a 1 jab or a 2 jab vaccine. So there's an opportunity for those that are needle phobic to get by with a 1 jab if they so desire. And that's it. So the second, the follow-up is going to be on July 14th for those that get 2 jabs. That's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Anyone else?
Pip, this is for comments not on the agenda, right?
Yep.
Okay, yes, I do. I'll make it quick, okay? Alrighty, so I just wanted to mention that I have twin daughters hoping to attend El Molino High School this fall as incoming freshmen. Despite what maybe a lot of people have heard, the fight to keep El Molino High School open for all West County students is far from over. The Superior Court of Sonoma County is hearing our case number SCV 268238 on September 22nd, the CARES case to stop the forced consolidation. CARE is also working with their legal team to have an injunction prevent the move prior to the case being heard. You can support this cause in multiple ways. If you're registered to vote within the West County Union High School District, consider signing the petitions that would recall the 3 board members who voted for the consolidation to take place prior to an environmental impact report being completed. You can also support the cause by donating to the Save El Molino website and the Keep Our Lions Roaring Facebook page. We're hoping to see as many of you as possible at the gala this Saturday at the Youth Park and the upcoming chili cook-off on July 18th at the Rio Neto Roadhouse. Each event entry includes food, drink, and fantastic donations from our local community to be bid on at the silent auction. Thank you all for your efforts to keep our lions roaring. Thank you.
Naomi, can you just send me actually what you just read? I appreciate
Try to do
it.
2 minutes. Yeah, sure,
I
Nance.
appreciate it. Okay.
All right,
Great.
anyone else on the council have any comments? Okay, so there are no proclamations. So the next and last item is call for agenda items. Does any council member have, yes, Vesta? You're muted.
I am muted. I'd like to keep the Vacation Rental Committee on the agenda until we disband.
Okay,
Thank you.
anybody else? Let's go to the public then. Anyone in the public? There's only 6 people left. We've bored them to death. Anybody in the public have any agenda items they'd like us to consider? Okay. Well, you know what time it is, guys. It's time for adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
I second.
I third it.
Wait, who was the second? Sorry, I got Nick.
I did. I jumped in. Lisa.
I got it.
Lisa Nelmanson.
I got it.
Yep.
At 8:42, okay?
All in favor,
guys.
yes, yes.
Yes,
Thank you. Shorter agendas.
it was pretty short.
Yes, it was a
All
short
right.
agenda and we still managed to draw it
It
out.
was short.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right, everybody. Thank you, public.
Good night, everyone.
Good
You
night.
guys are awesome. What amazing work. I'm proud to have this great group.
Definitely.
Take care.